thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at skipsandbins.com or telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces Handmade in Cumbria. You can order them from their website, mrvickys.co.uk, or by telephoning 01768 210 102. A big thanks also to New Workwear. You can find them at newworkwear.com. They're an agile and dedicated workwear provider. Welcome back as well to United Travel. They are a UK coaches firm and they are based in the Northeast. They've got 2024 tours and you can contact them on 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Email info@unitedgrouptravel.com and they've got a website which is unitedgrouptravel.com. There's no strangers on their tours, just people you haven't met yet. Big thanks to them for their sponsorship. Big thanks as well to Media Arts, and they supply all the video technology. If you want to become a member and get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf, then get your smartphone and put it over this QR code. It will take you straight to the membership pack. It's a £25 one-off fee. You can also go to NUFC Matters website and search membership pack to book today. If you want to help the channel, then subscribe to it by hitting the subscribe button. Hit the thumb up under the video to like the video and click share to share to your other social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. Don't forget, we help the food bank on this channel. If you want to do so virtually, go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and make a donation today. The Alan Shearer raffle is back on. 150 tickets, £1 a ticket. Win a limited edition signed Alan Shearer ball. Enter today at nufcmatters.com.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Good evening, welcome along to NUFC Matters. It is Matchday Live, a match against Manchester City away at the Etihad, 8 o'clock kickoff, and the teams are out. It's good evening from me and Darren. We may have one or two others join us tonight. It's a pretty bad night for Newcastle United to be kicking off, and I think it cuts into people's social lives, Darren, which you and I clearly haven't got this weekend.
Yeah, we were just... really know, mate. I'll come first something, Steve. I'll be looking forward to the day.
Oh, me too, mate. I've been looking forward to it. Let's get the team news first. Well, it's unchanged. I don't think that's a big surprise to anybody who'll be sitting watching this at home. We start with Nick Pope in goal, Kieran Trippier captaining the team alongside Cher, Botman and Byrne. So the back four as we know it. Bruno, Tonali and Joe Linton make up that wonderful three in the middle. And Almiron and Gordon certainly put a shift in last week on either flank to make sure that they kept their places this week. Isak, no doubt about it. He's Eddie Howe's main man up front. He starts today's game again. On the bench, Dubravka, Lascelles, Wilson, Ritchie, Target, Barnes, Livramento, Anderson, and Longstaff. So unchanged, Darren. Happy with that?
Yeah, I'm happy. Eddie Howe's one of them believers. What he doesn't like to change. He doesn't like to change a winning team, doesn't he? He proved that last season. So what's not broken, you don't mess with, in my eyes. So go with the same team.
Yeah, no, I would agree, mate. I think ultimately Newcastle United's performance last week, it would have been harsh on anybody finding themselves on the subs bench, and you know, looking at the team that we play today, they won the treble last year. You know, they're the best team, not just in the Premier League, but they're also the best team in Europe. Darren, it's a big test. We don't travel well to the Etihad, and let's hear what Toon Stato had to say last night on the Amigos in the build-up to this game.
Hello all! What a game this Saturday. We play the European champions, but we have nothing to fear since we are top of the league. We play Manchester City and we have never won at the Etihad in the Premier League since they moved to their new stadium. In 18 games we have lost 16 and we have drawn twice. The last time we kept a clean sheet was back in September 2006. Our goalkeeper that day was Steve Harper. The last time we took the lead at their stadium was back in 2015 when Alexander Mitrovic opened the scoring, but they still beat us 6-1. And the last player to have scored against them at the Etihad was DeAndre Yedlin back in 2018, so we haven't scored a goal there for 5 years. To make it even worse, we have 14 consecutive losses in Manchester. Of course, we won back in 2014 in the League Cup, famously with goals by Rolando Arans and Moussa Sissoko. When it comes to players, of course, they have this monster Erling Haaland, who has scored 38 goals in 36 Premier League games. But we have Callum Wilson, who has scored 5 goals as a substitute, which is the most of all the Premier League players. When it comes to overall stats, we have not won our 2 opening games of the season since 1997, when we beat Sheffield Wednesday and Aston Villa at home. Now we beat Villa in our first game, as you all know, so here's a chance that we do this 26 years later. Let's enjoy the game and let's hope that we'll deliver the surprise on Saturday. Cheers.
Yes, let's hope we deliver surprise indeed. Newcastle, of course, have travelled down to the Etihad today, and the hosts are without Kevin De Bruyne. He suffered a repeat of his hamstring problems in the season opener that they had last week against Burnley. Also confirmed as missing for Manchester City today are John Stones and Bernardo Silva. Referee is Robert Jones. He took charge of the games against Chelsea, Fulham and Brighton last season. And it's a full house for him last season, actually. 3 home victories. VAR, which is often switched off and certainly has been in other Premier League games today, is Jared Gillette. Interesting, I got a text message off one of the lads, Paul McDonald, who is down at the Etihad today. Interested to know, the situation with regards to tickets, because, of course, people were going down there. And we're basically, going to be ID'd at the gate just to make sure that people had the correct tickets. Paul messaged us and said, just one for you to know. We just gone into the ground. One of our group's tickets had been set to not let him in. He had to go to NUFC stewards who had envelopes with paper tickets, and he had to show his ID to then get in. So just proof there that Newcastle United weren't fibbing. They were doing that today. In an attempt to catch people out who had bought tickets and then given them to somebody else. So if anyone did take the risk, big chance of getting caught. Interesting stuff. But yeah, I mean, that is interesting to hear, Darren, isn't it? They are certainly making a big thing of this ticket situation, both at home and now away.
Well, especially away, Steve, because a lot of Newcastle fans know people pass on tickets to get their points up. Because, I'm a season ticket holder. I like to get away games, but unfortunately, I haven't got the points to get the tickets. So it's got to be done fairly. I'll say that you have your loyal fans. Say we get 3,000 tickets. Can you give 1,500 to the loyal people, and then the rest are a Ballon d'Or? Do you know what I mean? Just to make it some sort of fairness, Steve. That's my honest opinion of it, because people who've got kids who want to go to a away game, they can't get it.
Yeah, listen, I am fully behind it. I said this on the Amigos last night. I think the change of system is right. I think they've done it in a bit of a cack-handed way, unfortunately. I think they should have been, gently eased in at both home and away. It seems to be quite an aggressive way of doing things. I've got another issue now. I can't go to the Liverpool game. I want to forward my ticket to somebody and my friends and family. And now I tried to do it today, and it appears, I'm waiting for this to be clarified by the club. I've had to email the club. It appears that because we're playing Liverpool, and bear in mind, I'm a season ticket holder. I've got a 10-year season ticket deal. It appears that the person I'm trying to forward the ticket to now will have to pay another £24.36 on top of the standard ticket price, which they worked out for the, say for the Aston Villa game was £34. It seems as if it's a higher band game. So the person who goes on my ticket will have to pay £58 now to go to the game, rather than paying £34. I'll have to have this clarified. Maybe there's a glitch in the system, but I've emailed the club. But I find that unfair. If I pay the season ticket, that's my season ticket.
Yeah.
I am forwarding that ticket on to somebody in my friends and family. I've been told by everything that I read on that website that it's free to do that. Yeah. And now it looks as if they're trying to charge extra. So I don't know whether that's true or not. We'll wait and see. Good evening, Barry. How are you doing?
Well, the lad who I'm going to the game with on next against Liverpool, he's unable to go, so he's transferred his ticket to my cousin, who's got a number, a membership number. So he added in the friends and family. He's into that, and he's passed the ticket on to him. But he never got charged. I don't know, because are you in the Platinum Club, Steve? I'm in
the Platinum Club, but should that make any difference because I've got a season ticket?
It should do, really, because that's like he hasn't. My friend hasn't charged the person who's given the ticket to. He's just given it, so it shouldn't make any difference. To be fair, I don't know how we passed it on. We've done everything legit by the rules. We passed it on. Got done last night, so I don't know.
Well, we'll wait and see. Maybe it's a glitch in the system. We will wait and see. But
he's got his confirmation email. He's got it on his wallet now. The ticket's on his phone. He hasn't done the pay nothing. So it's a bit daft that you can't do it. It seems we've just done it. So I'm very
strange. Very strange. Maybe it's a glitch in the system. We will wait and see. Barry, good evening. We will run through the team again, just so you can refresh your memory. You've probably seen it anyway, but there we go. Pope, Trippier, Cher, Botman, Byrne, Bruno, Tonali, Joe Linton, Almiron, Gordon and Isak. Unchanged team. On the bench, Dubravka, Lascelles, Wilson, Ritchie, Target, Barnes, Livramento, Anderson and Longstaff. So unchanged all the way through. What's your thoughts on that, Barry? Happy to see an unchanged team today?
Yeah, I think the guys did enough against Aston Villa, so I mean, other than obviously bringing Hall into the squad, there's not a lot else he could have done with it, really. I'm guessing Joe Willock's still at least a couple of weeks away from fitness before he's going to get back into the squad. But yeah, I think. I mean, I watched obviously you guys talking about the game on the Amigos and thinking this is probably the chance for us to get one over City. If any time we're going to do it, City they have their own injury problems. I mean, I was really I can't remember the guy's name, Steve, to be honest, the Man City supporter who was on last night.
Yeah, Dean.
Nice guy. And you think his comments about Haaland, saying if he almost described him as a lazy player, that he basically sits there and waits for the chances being put to him. And you thought, God, if to me, from the outside looking in, you always think Haaland looks like the finished article. He looks like the perfect striker, probably up there with Shearer. But you think if he's not going to work for stuff, and if City are lacking the likes of De Bruyne and stuff, you think, well, is this our chance to do it? I don't know. I think it's going to be a test for Tonali because I think this is going to be the toughest team he's going to face midfield-wise. So fingers crossed we can go for it.
I definitely agree, but I mean, they are missing some key players. I mean, Man City's more than just De Bruyne and Bernardo Silva and John Stones, by the way. We know they've got equal players that can come in and do a job. They've got Foden, they've got Jack Grealish, to name a couple. But, ultimately, from our perspective, it is a good opportunity. I think when you look at the stats, a lot of the goals that Haaland scored yesterday came from assists from De Bruyne. So I think the point Dean was trying to make last night was that there's a heavy reliance on the ball coming to him, and I think you're right, Barry. I think it's the first time I've heard Dean and other Man City fans actually sound a bit nervous before this fixture.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge plus for us. It's got to be, really. You think this is the best team in the country, and their fans aren't 100% that they're just going to. Previous seasons, if you go back to 2 seasons ago or previous, you just think Man City will just show up and just walk all over us. And now they seem genuinely concerned that we are going to put up a decent fight. And I mean, if we play in the same style that we did last season, why not? We weren't that far away from them in at least one of the games last season, so. It's one of those things, isn't it? You think it's you've got to hope that the team are up for it, which I think with Eddie Howe, he seems to have instilled that in them, that they go for it and they've got no fear. We've got that pace up front, which hopefully will trouble them, but if not, you just go for it. I think everybody's looking at this. It's like one of these free hits, isn't it? You don't expect to take points away from City away from home. You just think, well, that's every team in the league just about comes away from there with nothing when you go down the Etihad. So anything we'll get today is a bonus. But can you imagine? I think Steve Hasty said it last night. Can you imagine if we get 6 points from the 2 games and we beat Villa and City? It's just like, yeah, really? While the stream's time, isn't it? For the start of the season, you looked at the first 3 or 4 games and you thought, oh my God. we're going to have a tough start, and considering, I'm just hoping it doesn't go the other way, that obviously we'll have that fantastic performance against Villa.
Yeah.
And it's when you talk about the Mike Ashley era, isn't it? You think, oh God, we'll have one great performance. It will be atrocious the next week.
Yeah, I know where you're coming from, mate. Yeah, I think sometimes you feel like it could be after the Lord Mayor's show, but I think we've got to accept that we're a different beast these days, and I think that Newcastle, it's a great opportunity to show the Premier League that Newcastle's really has arrived. And I mean, I wouldn't say I've been negative, but I've gone down the route of a draw today, and I think anybody, if you said to them, would you take a point away from the Etihad today, you would say yes, please, knowing that we've got to take them back at our place and could get a result. But there is more of a feeling of optimism. Certainly listening to the people making predictions on the Amigos last night, a lot of people feeling 2-1, 3-1 isn't out of Newcastle's reach. But I think we'll be doing City a discredit. And Pep Guardiola, he's very respectful of Newcastle, and I think that I think we should be respectful of them. There certainly seems to be, as Steve Hasty said last night, Darren, a little bit of a rabbit off, maybe something not quite right at Man City. Pep Guardiola last week, storming onto the pitch at half time to, I would say reprimand's a bit of a strong word, but certainly have words with Haaland about something that he hadn't done at the end of that game at the end of the first half last week, and then pushing the camera away, and then hearing what he was saying about various things at the press conference. He's very respectful, saying Newcastle, potentially, if they can handle the games, the Carabao, the FA Cup, Champions League, handle playing 3 or 4 games a week, you've got to talk of them as contenders. So certainly a bit of worry there from Pep. I think maybe it's Darren, that Newcastle are coming up on the outside.
Yeah, I think, well, to be fair, I think he's got a game today. And Man City, I watched them first game. Burnley, I thought Burnley done all right against them, and I watched them midweek. They weren't great. City had a couple of good spells, and the tippy-tappy to do, but like you said before, they want the perfect goal in them. But I do think we're the last team they want to play the day, because we're hungry, we're pace. I think he's worried about us for the first time in a long time. Man City is worried about playing us, and Guardiola, if he doesn't do good to start, will he go this season? I don't know. Something Guardiola, I think he's been there too long. And now he's never walked, but I don't know. Something with Guardiola, I think he looks unhappy, he looks stressed, he looks miserable. When you watch him till other years, he's just been all right. This is the first time.
I think it's pressure. I think it's pressure because, again, as Steve said last night, how do you follow a treble? Well, the owners will say, we want a treble again. You know, they certainly want the league and the Champions League as a minimum. And that in essence puts pressure onto him. You know, we don't know the situation obviously with with Paqueta as well. Man City linked with Paqueta. Now we know that he's got financial issues, being dropped from the Brazil squad while there's an investigation going to take place. And you just think, well, maybe maybe because De Bruyne is out, he thought he had Paqueta in, and now he is panicking a little bit about the midfield. So it'll be interesting, but pressure strikes people in different ways, and maybe that would be the case. Mozza, thank you. She says, yes, Steve, I was sure there was a rule about Liverpool being different. Can't find the briefing. We've been lucky and had 2 out of 2, but Liverpool's £10 more. Weird though, that was season tickets. And she also mentions about today's game. There's some gaps in the seats at our end. Not normal. 10 minutes to go. But hope it's not ticket ID issues. And you came in on the back of that, Barry. I'd had a message from Paul McDonald, just basically telling me that, of his experience at the game today. And he said, just for other fans to know, we've gone into the ground and one of our group's tickets had been set to not let him in, as we knew was going to happen. And he had to go to NUFC stewards who had envelopes with paper tickets, and he had to show his ID to get his ticket and then get in. So interesting to hear that. There's been a few other messages that I've received from people who've had no issues getting in. But yeah, look, ultimately, this ticket situation, Barry, is now in full effect. I guess we'll see what the aftermath is after the game.
It's a hard one, isn't it? I heard you guys talking about it last night, and you just think I can see both sides. I mean, obviously, I don't get to a lot of the home games, let alone the away games, and you think, well, it's this whole thing surrounding loyalty points, and obviously, you guys talked about the building them up for the Sunday matches and everything.
Yeah,
but you just think it's as though they're almost going to force some away fans from going. I mean, I can see it if somebody's buying them to make profit out of it and is selling them on and whatnot. Yeah, that's totally wrong. But if somebody buys a ticket, genuinely can't go and then moves it on to somebody else, what's the issue with that person taking over the ticket? I don't get that side of it. You think, well, I'd rather have any Newcastle fan there than have a ticket going sold and there being nobody in the crowd. You think they're just it sounds as though, and I mean, Manchester's not right down the end. Can you imagine if he'd gone to Southampton? If Southampton was still in the Premier League, and he got all the way down there and he got turned away from the ground for some reason and said, I'm sorry, mate, this is Darren's ticket. It's got Steve Race's name on it. You're not getting in. Mm-hmm. I mean, well, that's got to be absolutely crazy. You think, is that what it's going to come to? Is it going to?
I think they're trying to stop people who people who want to build their own points up, and
right,
and they're not going. They know they're not going, but they want to build their points up. So they're passing to their friend. Well, you go, I'll get the point, and you go. I done that last year. I done that last year myself. My friend didn't go, but I got the ticket of him, so he get the point. I don't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't say agree, but like you say, like it's if you can't be a Southampton to tell you can't go to a match, you it's a long way to go to say you can't go in. But I think the club been very powerful already. How they.
But that's it. They seem to be making these strange decisions. They've gone from being everything seems straightforward, dead honest, dead open with people, and then there's been 2 or 3 decisions now with very little discussion, with supposedly fans being there to put their comments across, which doesn't represent the majority of Newcastle fans. Yeah. And then making decisions, and you're thinking you could understand it if this was Mike Ashley. If it was his sort of decision, you think, yeah, he goes out his way. He doesn't give a stuff about the fans. He goes out his way to cheese them off. The new owners, I didn't think it seems to be, but then again, you don't know who within the club is making these decisions. You don't know at what level they're being decided. Because the top dogs all seem to be for the fans and everything else. They don't seem to be trying to alienate anybody, but yet these sort of decisions are coming out.
Big flag being unveiled on the pitch at Man City, and it's the full length of the pitch almost. Well, 2/3 of the pitch, because obviously they have to have the Premier League stand there, and it's simply got the Man City badge on with treble winners written on it, and then tumbling down from the stand at the back of the stand facing the tunnel, they've got another flag display, which is fallen now over the cantilever. This is how it feels to be City, with the FA Cup, the Champions League, and the Premier League trophy on there. So going all out on the flags today, Man City, and slowly the other flags are being wheeled out, and it's just a big blue flag with the Champions League on, one with the FA Cup, and one with the Premier League on. So there's certainly war flags certainly rattling other clubs. And look, at the end of the day, fair play to them. They've given it a go. They're basically trying to rub it in Newcastle's face, I guess. But at the side of the pitch, we also have the 3 trophies on display. So this is a big statement from Man City, and fair play to them. They deserve it. And Newcastle United fans and the Newcastle United team and management will get a chance to see those trophies up front and personal one day. Maybe they'll have the chance to have their hands on them. So we are only a few minutes away from kickoff. Mozza says, yes, Barry, I totally agree. The away tickets thing has always worked. I get it. It's about touts, but I see our away fans as a unit. Like I said last night, I just think it's a big brother kind of draconian way of doing it. I think, unfortunately, the way that they've chosen to do this is a bit, it's just a bit naughty. I just think they've upset a lot of people, but it's a commercial decision, and some of it will work, other parts won't. I guess it's how the club react to the criticism, and it's how the club react to suggestions by fans of things that work and don't work. So we'll wait and see. Yes, Les, I think you're right. The club probably did pay for that. Okay, let's run through the team. I know Barry's of a disadvantage. He's going to be relying on us today because he doesn't have anything which he can watch the game on. But me and Darren will keep you guys at home interested, hopefully, for the next hour and a half. But the starting 11 again: Pope, Trippier, Cher, Botman, Byrne, Bruno, Tonali, Joelinton, Almiron, Gordon, Isak, and on the bench: Dubravka, Lascelles, Wilson, Ritchie, Target, Barnes, Livramento, Anderson, and Longstaff. Okay, let's get your predictions. I've gone 1-1. That was my prediction last night. Darren, are you a bit more optimistic than me or a bit more pessimistic?
I've got a feeling 2-1 win, Steve. I don't know what it is. I've never been this positive in a long, long time, but I just think we're a total different team. I just think we've never had a better chance to beat Man City with the squad we've got, morale we've got. I just don't know. Someone's saying 2-1 win. 2-1
win. Okay, Barry?
I was the same as you, Steve. I put it on my Super 6 as a draw. As a ones apiece. I think even with their injuries, they're a really strong side, and I think it. I hope we don't. I would love us to come away for the 3 points, but I can't see it. I think we'll give them a good run for the money. I don't see any reason why we can't. But there's been stranger things happened, haven't there? I wouldn't have predicted last week's either.
As the fireworks now come out of the roof of one of the stands, basically shooting out of the full length of the stand, fireworks coming out of there with a blue and white tint at the bottom of them as well, just to give the atmosphere, build up the atmosphere a little bit more. The teams are on the pitch, they're lined up, and the music is playing as we get ready for this classic. The Oil Classic, I suppose you could call it, Oil Classic or whatever you want to call it. This is the battle of two big teams, and Manchester City lining up: Edison, Walker, Akanji, Diaz, Gvardiol, Kovacic, Rodri, Foden, Alvarez, Grealish, and Haaland up front. Ortega, Lewis, Ake, Gomez, Phillips, Peroni, McAtee, Bob, and Cole Palmer, the young protege, is on the bench as well. We've already given you Newcastle United's team, so we will await the kickoff. And as always, when we do these shows, we tend to talk about things that are in the news. And I guess the big talking point today, Darren, was about 6 or 7 hours ago. I think it went wild on social media that episodes 3 and 4 of the Newcastle United show had been put out in error by Amazon. Now, that in itself isn't a bad thing, but the key to everyone's excitement was the Adidas connection. So in episode 4, Alan Shearer basically starts talking about a meeting as he's doing the voiceover over some footage of Darren Eales, Peter Silverstone, and another heading off to have a meeting with Adidas. And essentially, it seems that Newcastle have tied up a deal which launches in September this year with Adidas. Now, they haven't said what it is. They haven't said what it's for. They've just said they are rekindling their partnership. But I don't know whether this was a very clever marketing ploy or whether this was a mistake by Amazon. But whatever happened, it means that the announcement's out there. And the club have announced it now that we are tying back in with Adidas. It's a 5-year deal. But what that 5-year deal is, we don't really know. So it's interesting. What was your thoughts, Darren? And Luke Bailey, he says, can you get a match clock up, Steve, so I can try and sync up with your reactions? I can't get a clock up on here, but what I can probably do is, as soon as the game kicks off, you can maybe set your timer and at least you'll know where we're at. Bear with us, Darren. Newcastle United's team are getting together now. They're just focusing on Tonali there, and Dan Burn, Kieran Trippier is having his say in the huddle, telling the lads what they want, what they're doing. Didn't take very long, by the way. I think Eddie Howe must have got the message across in the changing room. Mozza says they shook hands at the Adidas HQ Germany. That is correct. Robert Jones just gets the match, getting the players in. He's just looking at his watches. Newcastle United are now focusing and getting in place. Just see who's got the kickoff here. I think it could be Manchester City. Just so you're aware, Luke, bear with us 2 minutes and we will get this underway. So teams are taking their position. Not sure whether they're taking the knee today because that was last week and I don't think they're doing it every week. So we should have a quick kickoff here. Doesn't look like we've got any tributes to anyone who may have passed away. Man City definitely got the kickoff and we're off. So there we go. 2 minutes past 8 by my reckoning on my clock. But we are underway at the Etihad. So yeah, Adidas. What did you make of it, Darren?
I think Amazon's made a blooper. I'm convinced. People told us like they've watched the third series and it was like we'll beat Man U and we'll beat Tottenham. So
we've got an injury. We've got an injury straight away here. We've only been playing 20 seconds. Fabian Schär is down and he looks in pain. And he went up for a header with Haaland. He led with his arm and he landed on his... Let me just double check this. He went up, his left elbow went into his back. He fell awkwardly. He fell on his right arm, slammed his arm down. They're checking his shoulder. Eddie Howe's looking at the monitor at the side of the pitch. We're not 100% sure what's happened here, really. He fell awkwardly, but it looked fairly innocuous. It didn't look as if he'd had too much problems. The physios have got his shoulder. Well, they're pulling his shirt to one side like this, and they're looking at his shoulder. He's trying to raise his shoulder now, and he's shaking his head. I'm not sure whether this is as bad as it could be. You know, when you look at this, Elliot Anderson there looking at it. He's looking at it now. Communication now between the physios and the bench. He's going to get up. He's okay. Trippier's there, seeing how he is. Clutching the top of his shoulder now.
Oh, it's how I've just seen it there. Just how he land, isn't it?
Eddie Howe and Tyndall standing together side by side, looking a bit nervous. He doesn't look as much pain as I thought he would. This is going to be a physio's call, this, of course. Depends whether they had to pop that shoulder back in. He's grimacing a little bit, but we'll wait and see what's happening here. So, is he going to continue? He's on the side of the pitch. Newcastle kicking the ball back towards the Man City. They've given the ball back to the Man City goalkeeper. So Newcastle currently down to 10 men. So we wasted about two minutes on that, which will be added on, of course, at the end of the first half. Just trying to keep you posted on this. Isak charges down Man City's goalkeeper there, but Man City managed to clear the lines. Can't see Fabian Schär. Is he back on the pitch? We might have him back on the pitch here. Yes, we have. The physios are away. off around the pitch. Fabian Schär, he's made of tough stuff, that lad. He is back on the pitch. So panic over. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Let's hope the next challenge with Haaland isn't a bad one. But Adidas, you think they made a blooper? Barry, it's interesting. Adidas got links with Newcastle, of course. Huge links during the entertainers years. Is that something you'd be happy with?
God, I mean, I agree with you that they were the best kits I've had in my lifetime. The Grandad shirt and the maroon and blue kit to go with it. And you just think Adidas was such better quality than anything. I mean, we went from we've had Umbro, we've had Castoria, we've had Puma. I think Adidas were always head and shoulders above the quality of anybody else. And I agree with one of the comments there that the amazing 3 stripes down the shoulder just always looked class when it had the 3 black and white stripes to match like the Adidas logos and stuff. I do think it. So have the programs been taken down again? Is that what somebody was saying?
Yeah, they've been. I'll look
gone on and come back off. So I haven't even had a chance to see it. I haven't watched the second one.
Got 1 and 2's played.
Right.
3 and 4, you click on it, it's unplayable. So I think they're going to put all 4 on the playlist, like for next week and all that. And I think they put on by mistake. That's my guess. I may be completely wrong.
I mean, there is a possibility that Adidas may be coming in as the the sponsor for the training kit, to start with, with a potential deal moving forward when the Castoria deal ends in 25-26. So for me personally, I think that this will be something that grows and grows, and I think the words that Amanda and Mirdad, certainly Mirdad used, was like rekindling an old flame or something along those lines. It's a perfect fit, I think Amanda said, Adidas and Newcastle. So from our perspective, it's just great to see, but no surprise to see that it's a deal which will be tied up officially and announced officially in September, which means it gives Newcastle another lot of money towards the financial fair play for the transfer window in January, Barry and Darren.
That's it. It all helps, doesn't it? It all goes into the pot. And the thing is, it might help nudge Castoria along if they've then got a company of that quality in the background creating other stuff, and you think, well, they could take over quite easily from Castoria when their contract ends. But yeah, the quality. I mean, just going back to what you were saying about Schär, I think this is an awful thing to say, and I don't mean this is the way it's going to come. You worry that Schär is the one area we can't really afford to lose somebody at the minute. And I know obviously all the stories have been around about Anderson coming from Crystal Palace and various other people. You just think if he did get injured, would it force the club into signing somebody, Steve? Do you think there would? I mean, Howe's already said it would be a loan deal probably if they bring anybody else in now with Hall signing.
It's a good question. I've got to be honest. I grimaced there when I saw him, and I know Darren was doing the same. It looked bad. And your person that Newcastle had up warming up was Jamal Lascelles. Now, you'll not get a bigger fan of Jamal Lascelles on this program than Mitch. Mitch will tell you should have respect for him. He's still a Premier League player. However, I think, the majority of Newcastle fans who, I speak to, would say, I wouldn't have Lascelles anywhere near the first team. It's all about opinions. For me, Lascelles can come in and do a job. I think he's great. I think he's great against lower league opposition, but put him in against a Man City or put him in against a Liverpool or a Manchester United, I'm afraid he comes up short because he's just not good enough to play against those types of players, and certainly not against pace. He's always been a panicker on the ball. He's not very good with the ball in front of him. Stick him, in a headed duel. He comes out on top, but anything on the deck, I'm always a little bit worried about him. So the answer to your question in a roundabout way is probably yes. Bring in another player would be a necessity, and I think Eddie Howe said that in his press conference yesterday. Would you be bringing anybody else in after the Hall deal if it gets done? And he said only if there's an injury to anybody who. A long-term injury to anybody who is in the squad. So I think that answers the question for you. But yeah, it will be interesting. Okay, 7 minutes gone. Coming up to 8 minutes on the clock. Pretty even Stevens, I've got to say, from what I've seen so far.
We're all like, we're not just sitting back. We're in their half. We're actually giving them a game. So it's good to see, isn't it?
Yeah, Tonali's certainly taken the game to Manchester City. I think there was a lot of talk about whether, one of the questions in the press conference yesterday, Darren, was, is this the kind of game that Tonali can really, make his own? Can he go to Manchester City and dominate the midfield like he dominated the midfield in St James's Park against Aston Villa? And Eddie Howe was very quick to stamp out any highlighting of one player. He said this is an opportunity for the team to go to Manchester City and show them who we are. So, I think with Tonali, he had such a wonderful debut, and he's already become such an iconic figure amongst the fan base that it's no surprise that the press are getting carried away with it as well. But I think this is the kind of game where he probably will rise to the occasion. Darren.
Yeah, like I say, I can see why Eddie Howe said it's a team game, because it's not. I won't say a pressure, but it lets the squad know Eddie Howe. It's not about just one man. It's about the team. But like I say, he's hitting it on the head, Steve. Tonali would want to make a statement personally to show these what he's made of.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is an easier game for him to play than it would have been if he'd been up against De Bruyne and Bernard and Silva. I think this is an easier game for him. I think the midfield's the key, but I don't think for 1 minute that anybody is expecting one man to carry the team here. If we're going to get a point down here, Barry, it's got to be a team effort, hasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he's only going to improve, isn't he, as he gets used to the Premier League. So, I mean, Howe obviously sees enough in him to put him straight in, which he hasn't always done with the new signings. He's given them time and brought them through gradually. And to be honest, he hasn't put a foot wrong so far. I know people were negative about him not being quick enough in some of the pre-season friendlies, but he certainly against Villa, he looked a class act. You just think this kid's going to just improve all the time. No, I mean, this is it, isn't it? This is as good as it's going to get against him, I would have thought. It's if he can perform well against Man City, he's set up for the rest of the season. It's just, can I just say about, obviously, what you guys were talking about with Pep as well? I think it's absolutely ludicrous, this thing that the guys won the treble last season. And it's exactly right what you're saying, that what is he supposed to do this season, to better that? How is he meant to? All he can do now is replicate what he did last season. I mean, this guy is probably the greatest manager that's out there at this moment in time. Every club
he's only got one left to win. He's only got one left to win, Man City, and that's the Super Cup, and that's it.
Well, that's it. There's nothing. Every club he's been to, he's been successful. I mean, I'm not saying I want Eddie Howe to leave, but he would probably be the one manager you might think about above Eddie Howe, because his ability to get the best out of players. Yes, I don't think he has Howe's skill of building the team ethics and the team sort of behind the scenes, but you just think, God, how weird, man. What else? What else has he got to do? Has he got to put his kit on and come back on the pitch himself and score 25 goals just so he can keep his job as a manager? Because that's the only thing he isn't doing. You just think this is ridiculous. It just, how can they expect him to do any more, Steve? You know what I mean? Just, God.
Well, a little slip in midfield there, and the ball got put through to Haaland, but he made a bit of a pig's ear of it and didn't have his shooting boots on, thankfully. So Newcastle United 0, Manchester City 0. It is at the moment with 12 minutes on the clock now. It's interesting. I've heard a couple of people say that and seen a couple of people say that on social media about Pep Guardiola potentially coming to Newcastle at some point, and people feel a little bit, daft saying it with Eddie Howe. They don't want Eddie Howe to go, but yeah, I can see why you would say that, Barry. Jose Mourinho used to be the name on everyone's lips because of the connection with Sir Bobby Robson. But yeah, I think Pep would be a good fit for Newcastle, and it's a long way off. Hopefully, I still believe that Eddie Howe will be at Newcastle for many, many years. I think he will be the person who wins the first trophy since '69, and then he will be under his own type of pressure, very similar to the pressure that Pep Guardiola finds himself in at the minute. Mozza says Haaland's missing his pals. I hope it lasts the whole game. Haaland's kind of form. It's interesting with Haaland because the Man City 3-3 at St James's last season, he did virtually nothing all game. But then, just when you thought he was not going to score, bang, he's in the right place at the right time and he scores. You can never switch off as a defender when you've got Haaland around you. So it's interesting. Man City trying to play the ball wide and they're not getting much joy through the middle of the pitch. So they're spreading the play wide, trying to get
quite compact on in the middle, and all the players are back, and they kind of pass the ball through. But I'm got De Bruyne out of it. You can see it.
No, you can definitely see them. You can definitely see they're trying to change that. What they started, what they planned. They're not as fluent, are they really, without De Bruyne?
No.
De Bruyne gives them a bit of fluidity, and that's the difference, I think, today. With Manchester City. Just getting away from this game for a second, Man United today, Darren, I know you watched the game against Tottenham. Two bang average teams I watched there. I wasn't that impressed with Spurs, and Manchester United were as bad, if not worse, than they were against Wolves last week. They got out of jail last week with a dodgy VAR decision, but there was no lifeline for them this week, and Michael Oliver had a really good game, certainly in the first half, denying Manchester United everything. But yeah, two below average teams there. I thought I wasn't impressed at all.
No, you've hit it on the head, Steve. I just wasn't impressed with any of them. The Fernandes kept whinging all the way through the game. If he's the captain, I'm concerned for Man United because he's not a leader. And who is? Mason Mount done nothing, and it's. Tottenham wasn't that good at the back, was it? It was like bottom of the league clash, wasn't it? Really, the standard it wasn't a good game to watch.
Right,
it really wasn't.
I just saw the score. I didn't.
No, it was like Steve said, man. You look back average like they were worse at, and
I think they've wasted money on Mason Mount. I'm so glad that Newcastle were never interested in him and never brought him in because he just doesn't seem to fit the style of play.
He doesn't look like a centre midfield player.
He certainly looks like they've paid an overinflated price for him. Mm-hmm. They've got Scott McTominay sitting on the bench, who I don't think there was much of a clamour from anybody on this platform for Scott McTominay to come to Newcastle. They clearly want him out of the club because he wasn't in. He wasn't included today, in the substitutions. He wasn't put on. So it clearly, I was listening to Gary Neville there today, and he was saying from his perspective, he feels that, the only way he's going to get players in, Ten Hag, is by selling McTominay. And he might have to sell Maguire still, who knows? But, that's the reason he's not playing him. But I think, Barry, it certainly proved what I said to be true, which is all of these people clamoring, saying, well, next season, Man United will be challenging, Chelsea will be challenging, Tottenham will be challenging, this, that, and the other. It doesn't work like that. Football doesn't work like that. Last season, Liverpool beat Bournemouth 9-0 at Anfield. They were lucky today to get a 3-1 win. The penalty that... Salah took his third penalty in a row, which he missed and got the rebound. It turned the game, and Bournemouth certainly looked as if they were up for it today. But ultimately, I just because you're Liverpool and you've got years of history and you've recently won the Champions League and won the league, doesn't mean you're going to do it again this season. And that's because this season's a different season. And Newcastle are really putting some strong foundations together. Gordon whips the ball in. Newcastle just missing out there. But yeah, Newcastle putting some strong foundations in. And I think we've got people worried, Barry.
Yeah, I think with the Scousers, I think they've made so many changes. They lost so many players during the obviously the pre-season. Players going out, you like Henderson and everything else. Milner went. Yes, these guys were near the end of the career, but could you not have, if you would have hoped as a fan, they would have brought players in gradually, not just said, right, they're away and bring in untested players. Chelsea's the same. I think Chelsea at some stage will pick up speed because with the sheer numbers that they bring in, the chances are they'll hit a successful formula at some stage because they're buying quality players. You know, the Lavia from Southampton looks at quality player. It's just a case of the manager finding the best position to play him in. I think Man United haven't signed anybody who looks like he's going to be class. Their striker, this I can't think of the guy's name, doesn't look particularly special, which was the one area that they were struggling with. They wanted this big name centre forward, and they haven't gotten it. Spurs, you just think without Kane, they look nothing special. And I know they had the whole thing of they have to get some money in for Kane. That obviously you can go on a free transfer at the end of next season. But are they going to bring anybody in? Are they going to stick with Carlson in instead of Harry Kane? You just think their squad is literally falling apart. And I think with both of them, to lose Hugo Lloris at Spurs and then lose De Gea at Man United, who were almost like leadership figures on the pitch, they've never replaced them either. They seem to be. Like you see, I think you look at your solid teams. Liverpool might pick up. You've got Arsenal who are really good. You've got City who are really good. Other than that, there's a lot of teams who are in this stage where they're almost in a rebuilding program. Whereas
balls wide right to Miggy. He passes it inside. Big Dan Burns playing his part. Isaac's come short. Newcastle on the edge of the box. It's all Newcastle at the moment. Bruno though. Runs into trouble, but they win the ball back. Kieran Trippier tries a little dink into the box, but Manchester City clear it again. Dan Burn wins a header, and Anthony Gordon chasing back. There's been some great midfield work, some hard graft being played by the Newcastle team. Joe Linton again there. Tonali earlier on as well. But yeah, still 0-0, 19 minutes played as the ball comes back to Nick Pope. But yeah, I think, as Sam says, VAR will play a big part in helping the cartel teams achieve a decent early league position, as it did last year. It held the Toon and West Ham back last season in the early stages. There is that paranoia, isn't there, Darren, with VAR? I mean, look at that decision, Man United Wolves last week. It was a disgrace. It was an absolute disgrace. And I think there's been more today, which we will see apparently in the Liverpool game. A lot of people were going mad on Twitter who were clearly watching the game, and there was lots of bad decisions. And we'll wait and see. I'll reserve judgment until I see them, but I'm not going to doubt people. Isaac's in the box here. He's turning, plays it short. Joe Linton with a shot, charged down. All Newcastle here. Fantastic work. Tonali putting the boot in. And amazing.
Wolves would have felt mortified after 10 minutes after end of the game to say, yeah, we've made a mistake. 10 minutes after the game to say we've made a mistake. Shocking.
Yeah, I mean, today's game, it's the one we need to watch, I think, is the Liverpool game. But apparently there was at least 2, if not 3, major errors in that game. So it'll be interesting to see. He got the
red card right. I thought it was a red card.
Right, okay.
I honestly thought because he was high, he could have broke his leg on the other day. I thought that was a correct decision, me personally, when I watched it. So I do think the red card was right.
Just giving you some stats. 65% possession for Man City so far, 35 for Newcastle, which is still pretty good away at Man City, it has to be said. Go on, Barry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, how long are they going to let VAR be the reason for these games, though? You think it's like, it's blatantly obvious. I mean, obviously where we could be accused of being biased because a lot of it has impact on us, but you watch a lot of these games and some of the decisions are absolutely atrocious, and you just think, what is people from outside the UK watching the Premier League games and thinking, what the hell is going on here? You know what I mean? It's like it sort of points to the Premier League being corrupt because they're not enforcing, that they're not doing anything about these atrocious decisions, and they just seem to be continuing. You think when VAR come in, you thought, oh, it's going to improve. It's going to, you've got to put up with it for a while because it's going to take some bedding and it's going to get better. It never seems to get any better. It seems to be some absolutely mad decisions. And it's when it is in the favour of the top 6, you just think, how blatantly obvious you're going to make it that you're biased to these top 6 teams. And you just, I don't know. You want football to be fair. As a fan, you can put up with your team not winning if the rest of it's fair. But if the decisions are being completely biased because of who they are, and obviously they're so-called history behind the Big Six. You think, how are you? You know, it's ruining the game if that continues.
Mm-hmm. Ruben went down there as if he'd been shot by a sniper. Anthony Gordon got the faintest of touches on his calf. Ruben dived as if he was Tom Daly. Pathetic, really, to see a player, a grown man, going on like that. You know, and you know, Gordon clearly, you know, not happy about it, but given a yellow card for that. Just crazy, absolutely crazy. Again, just poor officials, you know, in the Premier League. I just think that's crazy. There was no previous foul. He hadn't been warned. And if you know, if that's the situation that, you know, we're in, then, you know, the game's, you know, it's getting worse. Barry, watch Howard Webb on the Rest Is Football podcast, says Mozza.
You just, for me, it's this. I know I've said it before. Is bring professional referees. If our referees in this country aren't scratch, get referees from other countries in who are top standard. Replace these guys. If they make mistakes and if they're making regular mistakes on decisions, move them on. They wouldn't accept it in any other form of in any other job. You wouldn't be allowed to, at the level that they're at with the Premier League, to make those repetitive decisions.
He never touched them, did he?
I think how much money's involved as well.
No, he didn't touch him, Darren. That was pathetic. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we've moved on now. Newcastle clear the lines. Nick Pope's putted the ball downfield, but Bruno was taken out of the game. He's fine. He's picked himself back up, just rolling his socks up. No doubt about it. Bruno putting a hell of a shift in again today, and a lot of criticism I saw again on social media of Bruno. People trying to stir things up. Darren saying that. There's been a deal done with Barcelona. Utter rubbish. You know,
money, boss. I don't know.
I'm not being funny, Darren, but there just seems at this moment in time there seems to be an agenda by some to unsettle Bruno. You know, last season it was all because of this injury. You know, people were saying that he's got an injury, despite Eddie Howe coming out on 3 or 4 occasions saying there's nothing wrong with his ankle. He's fine. He's fine. He's fine. We all, by the end of the season, more or less believed that he had some kind of ankle injury and he was going to have some surgery. The summer has come and gone. The pre-season has come and gone. There's been no ankle injury. There's been no ankle surgery. And ultimately, Bruno starts the season, you know, as he has, you know, as he played last season. He's still in the middle doing what he does best. But for some reason, some people just seem to be wanting to cause mischief. I suggested in a WhatsApp group with Mitch and Steve today that I feel it's like agents trying to stir the pot up. But what's your feeling on Bruno? I mean, from a performance level, I think it's positional. I think it's just because he's not the only man doing a job in there now, Darren. You know, he's got Tonali, he's got Joe Linton. Joe Linton is so good. I think that it's just the way it is. And you know, when Bruno first came in, he was on his own in there. And he had to do the job of 3 men, whereas now he's got a team around him.
Yeah, I mean, you've just hit it on the head, Steve. He's not a one-man band in midfield now. He's got Giordia, he's got Joe Linton, he's got Joe Willock, he's got Longstaff. So they're all players as a team work hard. I just think that the press is desperate, trying to unsettle players. 100% just trying to unsettle players. Bruno loves it up here. He's settled up here. He's got so I hope he signs a new contract shortly or things just to shut things up. So I think it's just speculation. I think just desperate trying to unsettle Bruno, aren't they? I
think that's half the problem, Barry. I think a lot of people are trying to stir things up. UGK man says Bruno wasn't due ankle surgery. Sat next to his personal physio, was on way back to Brazil, just needed a rest. So there you go. It's just crazy. I think it's just the press just trying to stir things, just trying to unsettle them, Barry.
Yeah, I mean, they've done it before with other players, but you think anybody who watches Bruno, his behaviour, his family's behaviour, he gets the whole thing about Newcastle United. We were always going to have to up the players around him to his level, which is obviously why we signed Tonali to try and improve the people around him. but he's still absolute quality. I mean, you can see by the jealousy in some of the opposing teams who would love to sign, who would love to. The fact that even if there is any truth in the Real Madrid stories before the Barcelona ones, that they were interested in him. I mean, Real Madrid can go out and pretty much buy anybody they want. And players will go to that club because of the reputation of Real Madrid. You just think Bruno may go somewhere like that eventually, but at the minute he's focused on Newcastle. He's where he wants to be at this moment in time, and it's like you say, it's this whole thing of the need to create stories, Steve. That it's was it classed as clickbait? You know, they put a story on the back just to get your attention and say, you know, this one's gone in. I mean, the number of times I've seen stories this week, Newcastle signed new player, and you go on it and it's some 14, 15-year-old kid who they signed for the under-23s or the under-15s or whatever, and you think, I wasn't going to read that. I was going to read that because I thought, oh, they've signed Lewis Hall and they're going to get somebody else, but it's some Irish 14-year-old who was signed from God knows where. And it's the same with Bruno. They know Newcastle fans are going to immediately, what's happening now? They're going to immediately turn and look at it. And it's just, nah. For me, I'm more interested in stories about Ryan Fraser, hopefully buggering off and going somewhere else.
Off to Celtic. Newcastle finding themselves.
Is he going?
No. I'm saying that's the only team that's the only team that's been linked with him. I'm saying Barry saying he'd love to see him go. I said Celtic's the only team that's been linked. And anyhow, yesterday at the press conference was asked about Ryan Fraser leaving, and he went, "There's nothing on that." And they said, "What about any of the other players that potentially could go out?" No, nothing on any outgoings. So that's where we're at the moment with those. Man City putting on a little bit of pressure there as we hit the half-hour mark. 4 or 5 attempts to get a shot in, but Newcastle equal to them and putting in a really good defensive shift as well as a good midfield shift. Couple of times they've given the ball away, either put it out to play or laid it into a blue shirt. But overall, this is a pretty good first half for Newcastle as we hit the half-hour mark. And as Mozza says, defending well, our lads. And I would agree. Yeah, the defending as a team. And that's what Newcastle have done consistently well since Eddie Howe took the reins as Newcastle United's head coach. Man City finding ways through Foden, and it's a goal. Manchester City have scored, and that is a wonderful ball from Foden, and it's Alvarez, number 19, hit the ball with his right foot, and it was pinpoint top corner. Nothing Nick Pope could do about that. And that's unfortunate for Newcastle, who have played well in the first half hour, defended well. You just had a feeling something might come there, only because of the persistence of Man City's forwards and midfield to try and get a shot off. And it's come from Alvarez. Great strike. Just watching the replay back here, it was a lovely little ball through to Foden on the edge of the box. He squared at Alvarez, who found space on the edge of the box. He basically took one touch, turned and hit it, and straight into the just straight over the top of Pope. I'm just trying to see whether Pope could have done any better. He was about an inch away from hitting it with his fingers. Pep Guardiola's happy, very happy. A little celebration from him on the sidelines. And I think it was a ball in from Walker to Foden into Alvarez. And Man City relief, I would say, amongst the supporters. And it's key now that Newcastle United do not collapse. Newcastle United need to sit tight for 5 minutes, regain the composure, keep doing the jobs that we're doing. And I think Newcastle will ultimately get back into this game.
Oh, good start. It's a good goal, isn't it?
It was a good goal. I know you're slightly behind, Darren. Good goal, wasn't it?
It's a good good build up from him. Good finish. Could have been tighter. Could have been a little bit closer to Alvarez, but he had the space. That's all be criticism on it. But it's a good build up.
I couldn't really say there was anybody to blame there. I'm afraid.
No. So the only thing you would say is Steve. He's on his own. No one's marking him. So
he bought the space very well. And if you look closely, at Phil Foden, he's looking straight ahead, and he does that pass that he's done on so many occasions where he's looking straight ahead, but passes behind him. It's a clever move. It sells it. It sells the defender. You know, the defender thinks he's going that way.
You watch carefully, Botman goes towards Dan Burn.
Yeah.
And Alvarez is quite clever. He just sits back, doesn't he, a bit?
Yeah.
And he's got that bit of space. So that's... You watch... I just wanted there. You watch Botman just go to the left and he's got the gap.
Mm-hmm. Foden comes through there. Tonali gets on the other side of him. He goes down. Tonali goes into the referee's book. Tonali got there in pace. It was a fair shoulder charge. Didn't pull him down. Foden went down like a ton of bricks and appealed, which I thought got a yellow card these days. He didn't do the whole like that, but he was appealing for a yellow card. You leave it to the officials. But yeah, Tonali now is in the referee's notebook, and we have a free kick for Manchester City. 34 minutes. We're approaching now on the clock at the Etihad. Manchester City 1, Newcastle United 0. Probably about 25, 30 yards out this free kick. Alvarez, Grealish over it. A couple of players moving apart. Grealish now is going to take the free kick, bit of movement. Newcastle are lined up. Played wide. Foden's got the ball again. He's certainly been a tricky customer for Newcastle today. That free kick comes to nothing, but it comes to the edge of the box. Newcastle stand their ground, clear the lines. Anthony Gordon is pushed over. Free kick to Newcastle.
We need half time, don't we? Just a reset.
Yeah. Well, it tells you the story of the game so far. Alexander Isak has virtually been redundant. We've not really managed to get forward since the first 10 minutes of the game. The rest of it has been in the midfield or in Newcastle's back four. So I think that tells you how the game has gone so far. But yeah, I mean...
That's not a yellow card on Foden. That's shocking.
Yeah, it was shocking. No doubt
about it. How good Foden is.
Possession stats are still 67% for Man City, 33% for Newcastle. Man City's had 6 shots at goal as opposed to Newcastle's 1. Passes, 294 for Man City, 144 for Newcastle. Blocked shots, Man City 4, Newcastle 1. Not a great deal more. Yellow cards, of course, 2 for Newcastle, none for Man City. But yeah, interesting game this. It really is. It's not going to be the goal fest, I don't think, that a lot of people expected. I still fancy 1-1. I still feel Newcastle are going to, there's more than enough in this game. And I do think that the substitutes in the second half will play their part. I think, bringing Harvey Barnes into this as opposed to the hard work and Anthony Gordon, bringing on a more productive Harvey Barnes will
give him a yellow card. Then he's got to book it.
Will change this game. Eddie Howe making a lot of notes as well, as Newcastle have got a free kick just outside the centre circle. Kieran Trippier lobs the ball in. It's too long. Lands onto the defender's head, but Newcastle managed to win the ball back. City then clear the lines. Gordon's got the ball on the left-hand side. Gordon taken down. Is that a free kick? He's just given an advantage. He's not a very clear hand signal there, but the ball is lobbed back in to Almiron. Can't get the ball across the box though, and the ball rolls out for a throw in. So Newcastle still losing 1-0. Referee is listening to something in his ear. We've got a VAR check here. What's this for? We're looking at a handball. Fabian Schär was appealing for a handball. Has that been waved away? Yeah, VAR check must have said nothing doing. Eddie Howe, Fabian Schär had appealed for a handball, and the VAR decision was against. So, yeah, still 1-0 down. Substitutions in the second half is something we need to think about when we come to half time. I think Harvey Barnes will play his part in the game today. It's whether he takes Isak off or whether he leaves Isak on and brings Wilson on, I guess, Darren.
Well, look at it. Almiron's done nothing. I mean, Gordon's done a lot more. Almiron's.
So would you switch Gordon across on the wide right and bring Barnes on the left?
Yes, possibly. Or would you put Isak on the left and Wilson up front and going on the right? That's another possibility. I just don't think Amron's done much personally, Steve. Gordon's running his socks off.
Yeah.
Everything's come from his side. So it's just like say, Amron. No, he hasn't really done much. Amron. I don't know, Chris. I think he's no. That's
not a great. There's not a great deal for him. I think in the attacking third of the pitch, I don't think Newcastle's had the opportunities today, and I think that's the problem. You know, Manchester City, as I said right at the top of the program, that treble winners, they're the best team in the Premier League and the best team in Europe. Newcastle have to prove that they can compete with them, and they need to put the effort in. But at the moment, Manchester City are managing to stifle Newcastle in that final third. We're not getting the opportunities. This is the trick for Newcastle. If you're gonna get something today, you're gonna need to take that one opportunity that comes towards you, Barry. You know what I mean? It's a big thing in a game. It's a big thing in Premier League games. If you look at the stats of last season, Newcastle drew a lot of games. Certainly games which they should have won, and they've got to get out of that habit. They've got to start winning those games.
I think from what you guys are saying as well, it's like the midfield area where we're not grabbing hold of the ball, playing it forward. I agree totally with Darren that from what you're saying, it's Miggy who's not as much in the game as Gordon is, and this one keeps coming back to Steve about Longstaff. When Longstaff doesn't play, the midfield doesn't necessarily work as effectively as it could. I know it wasn't that last week. I sort of thought last week, would he play Longstaff instead of Tonali? Could he put him on? Howe's now got so many potential choices of bringing people on. Like you see him moving Isaac on the left, sticking Wilson through the middle. It's where he pinpoints that it's letting us down. I mean, Foden's class. He's going to be hard work at the best of times. It's where now does he think we can improve? Would Anderson get a game? I mean, Anderson's been on fire recently. There's a few of them he could bring on, but exactly what you said. This is the treble winners. This is going to be the test for Howe to see whether he can mastermind it against them, I suppose.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the key, really. This game, it's 1-0 down. It's not over. That's the thing to remember. We've got 5 minutes to go plus whatever injury times to be added on. But Newcastle have got an opportunity here to get something at the Etihad for the first time. But we are playing the treble winners. We don't want to respect them too much. We want to make sure that we make our mark, and I think we will. I still feel we will. I've seen enough in this game to suggest that Newcastle will be able to turn the corner here. I think the key really now is to get through to half time without conceding a second goal, which the Nelly did there. Another poor shot by his own standards by Haaland. Foden put the ball through. Came to Haaland, who was alone on the left-hand side. Well, he was being jockeyed by Botman, I think it was, but he managed to get a shot off, but it was a scuffed shot, which rolled across the box comfortably wide. And Haaland, scuffed it with his left foot. Not what you're used to seeing.
It's just our final third, really. And I just going forward, we don't know what to do with it. Movement, you know what I mean? That's what it looks like a little bit. Our ideas going forward a little bit.
Yeah. No. I just think they've, Man City are keeping us at bay. I think that's probably the best way to describe it. And they're managing to breach our back line and get a couple of shots in. Okay, not great shots, but Alvarez's goal with the exception. There's not a great deal in this game at all. Newcastle have done well in the midfield. They are winning the ball back. It's just the creativity they're lacking at the minute. They just need that bit of luck. And this is what I'm saying. I think Harvey Barnes will come on and change this game. I think Barnes running down that left-hand side will change things. It's a big decision for how to make. I don't think he'll want to take Gordon off, and maybe putting Gordon on the right and keeping Barnes on the left might be the right thing to do. Not sure how Gordon's going to feel if he gets taken off when he hasn't really done a lot wrong today. But Barnes coming on the left is a given, I think, in the second half. It'll be interesting. But this isn't a walkover for Man City. This is a different game for him. as the camera's focused on Pep Guardiola. This is a different game for Pep Guardiola today. He's sitting like Ua Woolley on his ice bucket, looking thoughtfully out towards the game, looking thoughtfully out towards the pitch. And he'll be impressed with the way Newcastle have set about the job. You know, it's got him thinking, and that's testament to Eddie Howe and the boys. It really is. Man City just have that little extra edge. There's no doubt about it. Since the goal, they're playing with that confidence of treble winners, and that is something which you expect to see from Man City. I think Eddie Howe said in his press conference yesterday, when he was asked, did he learn anything from the game that Man City played midweek? He went, they're still very competitive. They still have the hunger to win. So that in itself, you know, tells you that, you know, Eddie Howe knew this was going to be a tough game. They are getting on top a little bit in midfield. They are starting to they're just getting a lucky break every now and then. And that's why they're finding those little gaps and getting through. But once it gets to the back four, Kieran Trippier's jockeying Kyle Walker again there, and the ball's out for a Man City corner. 44 minutes played, coming up to half time. Manchester City 1 and Newcastle United 0. We'll guide you through this corner. Jack Grealish is going to take it. Newcastle back in numbers. Joelinton front post. This is Man City's first corner of the game.
Is it?
Ball floated in by Grealish. The blue win, but it's Bruno who, with a rather acrobatic kick, manages to get Newcastle's lines clear. A little scrap in the midfield there with Isak, and Man City win that one. The ball's now with Haaland on the left-hand side. Grealish again, who's backing up his teammate, goes down, dives on the pitch, and the referee's not having any of that. Gives the free kick the other way to Newcastle United. So here we go. 10 seconds till 45 minutes on the clock. We'll find out what we've got.
You can then regroup. That's all we need.
That's what one
I mean, to be honest, listening to you, I mean, obviously, I'm going off what you were saying. I've only heard Haaland mentioned about 4 or 5 times in that first half.
Yeah.
I mean, how many teams could say that about the top striker in the country?
Yeah.
He's done nothing really, but like Steve said before, early on, you give him one chance, he'll score a goal. Like that's the only world class players can have that ability, can't it? That's the only thing. He's done nothing. Well, he's been marked. He's had a couple of snippets, but he's done
nothing.
3 minutes. Really. 3 minutes stoppage time. So the 2 minutes that Shaw was down is playing heavily on that. And Newcastle back in possession. Gordon again running across the midfield and gets the ball to Bruno. Joelinton.
How's Shaw doing? Does he look?
He looks all right. Yeah. He's as hard as goat's knees. The ball is back with Joelinton. Newcastle just having a little bit of possession, and Eddie Howe talked about this in the press conference as well, about keeping the ball. Possession is key, and he does like to see his teams keeping a hold of the ball. He says you can still win games when you haven't got the ball, but you know, possession is important. He said he's not obsessed with it, but it's something which he does like to see his teams. And Newcastle are just going on this little run here, passing the ball around, frustrating Man City. Probably about 16 passes there now. Dan Burn got the ball now on the left. Pep Guardiola waving furiously at one of his players, telling him to come across. But Newcastle still possession, still another pass, another 2, another 3. Ball's played long now to Miggy. That's up to 20 passes there. Miggy's got the ball, stops, checks. Got a runner on the outside. Kieran Trippier whips the ball in. Newcastle chance. Oh, Anthony Gordon, the ball just didn't fall right for him there. Joelinton had got himself into a useful position in the middle. Newcastle will regain possession again and start the passing again. This is what you want to see. Newcastle taking the game to Man City. Fabian Schär to Trippier. Trippier's got the ball. Trippier to Tonali. Tonali, little turn inside. He plays the ball wide to Almiron. Sadly gives the ball away, but then wins it back. Coming up to the last minute of stoppage time. Isak finally getting some kind of look at the ball, not getting a touch on it, but certainly in his half, which is good to see. And 30 seconds left of the first half as Isak runs across, tries to close down the centre half. looks a frustrated figure today because he hasn't had much of the ball, hasn't had a great deal to do. Long ball across, Kyle Walker on the rampage. Anthony Gordon matches him, plays him into the bottom corner here. Walker seems content just to jockey him, keep the ball off. Gordon's backed up there by Dan Burn. The ball goes out. Walker making his mouth go to the linesman. Dan Burn's got the ball in his hand, nothing doing from the referee. And Dan will be happy to see the clock go down here. And the whistle is in the referee's mouth. And that is half time. Newcastle United 0, Manchester City 1. And we go into the half time interval, just a goal down. So, Darren, you'll just be playing catch up there. You'll be coming at the end there.
Once he goes unlucky there, hasn't he?
He is, yeah. Yeah, he is.
Unlucky.
So go on, Darren. You're coming up towards the end of it. There's nothing more controversial in those final 2 minutes. What's your thoughts on that first half?
I think the first 20 minutes were done all right, and then just a bad spell like 10 minutes when they scored the goal, didn't they? And,
yeah.
Well, not a bad spell. They got the goal. They haven't really done much, man. So you had one bit of magic by the striker, but we need to hold on the ball a little bit more and have a bit more confidence going forward, because that's where we're lacking going forward. But overall, we're doing all right. We just need a little bit more luck second half going forward, and then see how it goes.
Substitutions, what would you make? We've talked about Harvey Barnes.
I'll take Amaron off for Harvey Barnes, and Harvey Barnes on the left, Gordon on the right. That's the only change I would do with the time being.
Right, okay. Barry, you're at a disadvantage because you're not watching the match, but you're listening to what we've got to say. And obviously you've got your own mind and your own opinions of what substitutions you would make. So what would you do?
I think it's the same as you guys. I think Barnes has looked exceptional. His pace and everything, he's so up for it. I think he'll stick with Isaac for a while into the second half. It's not like Isaac's playing badly. He just hasn't had a sniff. So stick Barnes on the other side, Gordon on one side, Barnes on the other, and just go for it again. I think that pretty much what Darren said. They've had a one-off wonder goal, if you like, that's separated the two teams. Yes, they've got that little bit of advantage, but at the end of the day, they're playing at home, Steve. If this was anybody other than Man City, we'd probably have scored by now. It just, yeah, it's a how thing, isn't it? It's again, he's going to study it, and he'll look at everything at half time, and then how he fixes it. He's got those options now, so it's a case of seeing how he wants to change it and see if we can either get back into the game or go for it from there. But I don't think we're doing too bad. I think if somebody said to this before the game, would you be happy with 1-0 at half time when you pretty much matched them for most of the first half? I'd be quite happy with that, to be honest. See what we can do second half.
At least you're not like parking the bus and sitting back.
No.
We're trying to have a goal. We're just a little bit more going forward.
There was plenty of teams humiliated off them last season, where they were like close to double figures at some stages. You think this is like, it's not that far off being a pretty even game at the minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're certainly closer to them than we were this time last year. I think, I've said this time last year when we played them at the Etihad, I don't mean the home game. I think obviously they're at a slight disadvantage. They're missing some key players. They are missing, like I mentioned at the start of the show, they're missing Stones, so they've had a defensive shake-up, but they're missing Kevin De Bruyne and they're missing De Silva. They also played midweek. Game went to extra time penalties. So, they are doing very well. They'll be happy with their lead, but they'll know they're in a game. And that is the difference between the Newcastle United team, of this season and last season, it has to be said, and previous years at the Etihad, where we've gone down and got a thumping. This game shouldn't end up, with Newcastle losing, massively. So yeah, from our perspective, I still think we can get a draw. I think it's down to the substitution. That's the key. They've got to get it right. I think if he takes Gordon off, it's a mistake. A lot of people in one of the WhatsApp groups I'm in suggesting that we take Bruno off and potentially put Sean Longstaff on, which would fit into your little comment before, Barry, about Longstaff and saying that the midfield doesn't operate as well without Longstaff. Is that something you would dare to do?
It's the thing. Would you take Bruno off? Bruno and Longstaff and Joe Linton are proven they play really well together. Would you take Tonali off? They're not playing that badly, but like you say, Steve, we're going to have to change something. We're going to have to. I would bring Longstaff on. I think
I would take Joe Linton off.
Would you?
No, I just my play. I think Joel. He put Longstaff, Tonali, and Bruno. Maybe a little bit something different. I'm a big fan of like. I think I miss Joe Willock. I'm a big Joe Willock fan in that midfield as well.
How's Joe Linton played? I know you usually listen to him, and he's usually breaking up moves. He's getting stuck in. He's winning the ball back. How's he been against their midfield? Has he been?
Well, I mean, Joe Linton's been Joe Linton. He's won a lot of 50-50s. Maybe it does need something different, but it's a difficult decision to make as to who you would take off. It really is. This is why Eddie Howe gets paid the big bucks, of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I still think the substitution is a simple one. I think you bring Harvey Barnes on. I would agree with Darren. You move Gordon onto the right and you take Almiron off. I don't think Almiron's been in the game at all today. And I think that would change things slightly. Tim says Joe Linton looks as if he doesn't want to mix it up. Nick says we're in the game for sure, but we don't look like we've got a cutting edge. We know it's the players, but they need to lose the phobia of not being braver in front of goal. City are class, full stop, 100%. Do you think Bruno and Sandro are a bit alike? It's an interesting question, Dave. Is that why Bruno looks as if he's not putting the best effort into some people, Darren?
I would say he's better. I just think that they're not used to playing with each other. I don't know. Bruno wanted to play a more attacking midfield, and Tonali's more defensive. But definitely, I'd just be a bit more patient. I'd say that's how it works.
But yeah, are they similar, Barry?
I think they are. I mean, the whole point with Tonali was when we talk about having a second 11. For me, when Bruno was missing last season, there was nobody to replicate Bruno's sort of role and the influence he has on the game. Tonali looks a very similar type of player, that he motor between the defensive midfield and the attacking midfield that Bruno plays. Mm-hmm. But I suppose it's only by having the two of them together to see whether Howe can get them to work at the same time. But it's like we say that you didn't have two players like that last season. Longstaff, Joe Linton, and Bruno are very different types of players.
It's going to take time, isn't it, for both of them?
Yeah, it's whether one of the two can adapt to the other one's role,
mm-hmm.
And vice versa, which is going to take time. I mean, from what you guys have said, neither of them's having a particularly bad game. They're just not shining. But at the end of the day, like we keep saying, this is the best team in the country. We haven't
got a grip of Foden. I mean, they're going through the montage at halftime. Foden's had 31 touches. He's created 5 chances, and Man City scored from one of those. So ultimately, that tells you that Foden is dominating the midfield, and we need to close him down. So really, Eddie Howe's got to look at that. How do you nullify Phil Foden? And, how do we create more chances ourselves? It's as simple as that, I think. Steve says, we're slow in midfield. They're switching quickly to defence and attacking impressively. Sam says, Tonali on a yellow, Longstaff on, Miggy off, Anderson on, Gordon on, yellow off for Barnes. So he would put Longstaff on for Tonali, Anderson on for Miggy, and Barnes on for Gordon.
It's a decent call. I think
with Tonali on the yellow card, that's the only thing I'd kind of agree with, because
Gordon's on a yellow card as well, so that's how that's your excuse for taking the players off, I guess. But yeah, interesting. We'll pick it up in the second half of their game on Wednesday. We'll tell, says Tim, optimistic. Longstaff for Joe Linton, says Tim, which is what Darren has said. Derek says simple passes through the middle, splitting our midfield. Okay, we're going to have a quick break, and we'll have the ad break. We will be back after this. A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at skipsandbins.com or telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Big thanks to Mr. Vicky's sauces handmade in Cumbria. You can order them from their website, mrvickys.co.uk, or by telephoning 01768 210 102. A big thanks also to New Workwear. You can find them at newworkwear.com. They are an agile and dedicated workwear provider. Welcome back as well to United Travel. They are a UK coaches firm and they are based in the Northeast. They've got 2024 tours and you can contact them on 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Email info@unitedgrouptravel.com and they've got a website which is unitedgrouptravel.com. There's no strangers on their tours, just people you haven't met yet. Big thanks to them for their sponsorship. Big thanks as well to Media Arts, and they supply all the video technology. If you want to become a member and get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf, then get your smartphone and put it over this QR code. It will take you straight to the membership pack. It's a £25 one-off fee. You can also go to NUFC Matters website and search membership pack to book today. If you want to help the channel, then subscribe to it by hitting the subscribe button. Hit the thumb up under the video to like the video and click share to share to your other social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. Don't forget, we help the food bank on this channel. If you want to do so virtually, go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and make a donation today. The Alan Shearer raffle is back on. 150 tickets, £1 a ticket. Win a limited edition signed Alan Shearer ball. Enter today at nufcmatters.com. Okay, nearly back for the second half. Let's get the comments in the chat. Longstaff for Joe Linton was what Tim said. Dummett and Lascelles for Skips and Bins. Where's Miley? Where's Miley? He's well. This is your bench. Just going back through the team: Dubravka, Lascelles, Wilson, Ritchie, Target, Barnes, Livramento, Anderson, and Longstaff. I think Miley was with the under-23s today. That's why he won't be playing. Typical problem against Peeps Man City. Hard to find a solution against these tactics. Just got to play our game and hope for the best, says Thomas Beale. Peps, of course, he meant. Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, like I've said, and I'll repeat again, we're playing the treble winners, Darren, aren't we? You know, we've got to take that into, the context that, it's in. You know, we're playing the team that won the treble last year, and yeah, show them respect, but you've just got to play your own game, and you just got to play your own game and hope that you get a lucky break.
Exactly, Steve. The treble winners, they want to win every game, like tomorrow. But at the same time, we want to win, but we're kind of showing them too much respect. But they're a good team. We all know that. But it's a hard game for us. We all know it is. But at least we're having a little go. I just hope people just don't overdaft on the cursing Newcastle as usually we're either losing or getting beat. People might just doing the wow, we're rubbish and all that and thing. But just they're a good team, and you can't take that away from them. That's the thing.
Are you still confident for a win, Darren?
We've got to score in the first 20 minutes second half. We've got to score, and we just nick it towards the end. I'm being positive.
I'm still going for a 1-1 draw. What about you, Barry? I mean, obviously, again, you haven't had the opportunity to see the game. You're going off our commentary, but are you still confident?
As it stands at the minute, there's no reason we couldn't score. The longer the game goes on, I don't think we're going to turn them over because I think they're too strong. I think Foden's playing as well as he's an absolute class player. We haven't had a great deal of chances. We just need that one decent break and a decent chance. And if Barnes is out second half, he's going to add that extra pace where we could well get at them. The question is whether they do similar to what they did in first half, which was almost a goal out of nowhere, guys. It's just, it didn't sound as though there was a lot before their goal. He sounded as though it was a deep, cracking goal from distance. And that could happen at any stage. It's whether or not it's the age-old thing, isn't it, Steve? It's the next goal. The next goal is the important one. It's whether we get back into it or whether they put some distance between us. But
Tim says it's... Go on, Barry.
I was just going to say we're doing ourselves proud, even if we get beat up City. This is a measure of where we are at this point in the season, and we haven't done anything to make ourselves look poor so far. I think we're doing really well to be at the position we're in.
Teams are coming back out onto the pitch. Cameras focus on Alvarez, of course, whose goal separates the two teams. Manchester City 1, Newcastle United 0. No substitutions to report of as yet. It's Foden and Walker that needs broken down, says Tim. PDK says City might run out of steam this half, just need to keep it tight. Second goal, and it is over. Nick says Wilson and Barnes on for Miggy and Gordon, Longstaff and Anderson, Tonali and Big Joe. And the intensity isn't there. They played midweek and they looked sharper. Let's hope Eddie gives them a rocket. Derek says we should have more legs in the second half. The first half, it seemed as if we were leggy. Keep Isak on with Wilson, says Nick. And I don't like this person in the tunnel presenting, says this woman who was there. I tell you who we do like Ian, who was put his foot on the pedal. He's put his foot on the pedal to get you. I hope he didn't run any red lights, mate.
A few, yeah.
Come and discipline him. Give him a 5 weeks pay this thing for being late.
That's
a pet yours, Ian.
No, it just if anybody wants to think about going to Kent on holiday for a week, don't bother. It's not the easiest place to drive to. Anyway, so I haven't got a stream. My regular way of watching the match for some reason isn't working, and BT won't let us buy a monthly pass. So I'm about as much use as a chocolate.
Well, Barry and you are both in the same boat because Barry's not watching the game either. But I'm watching it, and Darren's watching it, and he's slightly behind me. So we've started the second half 1-0 down. There has been a yellow card for Alvarez, who put his hands all over the back of Tonali. Brought him down.
I'm not far behind this time, Steve. I'm not far behind. I'm on 45. So.
All right. Well, I'm about a minute and a half ahead, I think. But Newcastle certainly starting a little bit more aggressively than they did in the second half. There's a little push by one of the defenders into the back of Isak. Isak's gone down. I don't know whether we're reviewing this on. I don't know whether this has been reviewed on VAR or not. I don't think it is. But Newcastle certainly starting more aggressively in the second half. What did you make of the team, Ian? Because obviously from your perspective, you've been travelling back. The starting 11 was unchanged. Pope, Trippier, Cher, Botman, Burn, Bruno, Tonali, Joelinton, Almiron, Gordon, Isak. But in the substitutes bench, it's the same again. Dubravka, Lascelles, Wilson, Ritchie, Target, Barnes, Livramento, Anderson, and Longstaff. So, to be honest, we were talking changes in the interval, Ian, suggesting Barnes maybe comes on for Almiron and maybe swap Gordon to the right because Gordon's had a decent first half. Botman's played okay as well. I've got to be perfectly honest, but there hasn't been a great deal of creativity in.
Yeah, that's obviously I'm just listening. I've been listening on the radio, and that's exactly the way that it's come across.
Oh, he's gone. Okay.
Bless him.
I'm sure he'll be back. He's clearly some kind of problem with the system at his end. I
was worried about the juggle with the Fainham night, but haven't gone so far.
We'll come back to him when he can. 48 minutes played. Manchester City 1, Newcastle United 0, and Newcastle certainly starting this half the more aggressive. ball getting pinged to Tonali again there, and Trippier and Tonali linking up well. Tonali's played the ball out wide. Now it's come to Almiron, who's just trying to check and overcheck. Trippier gets the ball, whips it in. It's fallen to somebody. It's fallen to Joe Linton at the back post, but just unfortunately just doesn't settle. Newcastle still got it though. Gordon flicks it up, tries to get a shot in on goal, and the ball goes over and wide. So yeah, go on, Ian. What were you going to say before you got cut off?
Yeah, from listening on the radio, that's probably the change that I'd look to make. It obviously it's really hard to make a judgment when you're basing it on Talk Sports commentary of what's really going on. But it sounded like we were a little bit disjointed at the back. It sounded like Gordon was having to do a lot of protection of Dan Burn from what was being said. But again, like, you know, there's no eye test there. I can't see what's actually going on. I'm judging that by the commentary that I'm hearing, you know. But yeah, probably that would be the obvious change that I would make. I didn't hear a great deal that Miggy had done. So yeah, I couldn't disagree with the limited sort of knowledge I've got of what's happened.
Yeah, okay. I mean, what was your prediction for the game, Ian? Were you confident before the kickoff?
I said 2-2. I actually spoke just when I was texting you earlier at Wetherby. There's about 15 or 20 tune tops in there, and someone walked past and had this T-shirt on. So I got chatting to a lad down there, and he was like, "Yeah, I've got a good feeling we're going to do it 2-1." And I thought 2-2. It sounds like we are being outplayed. If I'm being perfectly honest, obviously I'm not watching it, so I couldn't say for definite. But but City are a quality team. We've got to be realistic. You know, they've been 20 years at this now. You know, we've been 2, not even that really. You know what I mean? So yeah, I would. If someone offered me a point now, I'd take it like that.
Oh, man.
Okay, Newcastle still losing 1-0. 50 minutes on the clock, and Alvarez's goal separates the two teams. Another foul. Alvarez now rolling around on the ground as Sven Botman puts his foot in and gives him a little reminder that he's in a game. I'm not sure whether he's going to get a yellow card for this or not, because the camera is focused on the Man City dugout and Pep Guardiola and them sitting down, just chilling out, watching the match. But substitutions, Darren, tend to happen around about the 65th minute mark for some reason. Something which started in the Steve Bruce Eddie Howe seems to have carried it on now. It'll be interesting to see what changes he does make. Alvarez is back on his feet, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what changes he makes. I think we won't see Newcastle's look change until that happens. We just got to hope we don't go 2 goals down.
No, just get at the ball, Stephen. Just pass it about, because build up confidence slowly. The 2 subs I would make now would be Sean Longstaff and Barnes on, definitely. I would do it now with another 5 minutes. That's who I would do personally right now.
All right, Man City wasted the free kick. They've got the ball. Newcastle United, they've got the ball back. Botman just playing it backwards and forwards to Tonali. Newcastle going back down that route of possession, trying to keep possession, trying to frustrate Manchester City, try to catch them on the counter-attack. They push the ball up wide now to Gordon, who's on his bike, coming down that left-hand side. Got into the box, but a last-ditch tackle by the Manchester City defender takes the ball off Newcastle, and Man City have got the ball, and Gordon chasing them down again, and left his foot in there. He's got to be careful. He is on a yellow card. He's put the Man City. I can't tell you who it is because the camera angles are so poor on here. He's put him on his backside. Joe Linton looks as if he's gone through Foden now. The referee's got his hands full here trying to work out exactly what happened. It's Gordon who's gone through the back of. Let's just watch it. They're just doing a slow mo here. Okay, so he's gone into a challenge with Ruben. Ruben's gone full Tom Daly again. And then Joe Linton on the halfway line has just brutally taken out Phil Foden by the knee. Just giving him a reminder that he's in a game. Joe Linton's limping about. Surprise, surprise. This will be good for people on their coupons. Joe Linton's been booked. It's another yellow card. Everyone seems to take that these days. But yeah, Barry, it's, again, without you seeing the game, it certainly sounds as if Newcastle United have been told to let Man City know they're in a game.
Yeah, it sounds like Eddie Howe's team talk at halftime was to get stuck in a bit more and have a go at them. Like you guys have said, that you'll give them a certain amount of time to see if it improves.
Barnes is coming on. Barnes is coming on. 53 minutes, Barry. Sorry to interrupt you. 53 minutes.
It's gotta be for Gordon because you're on the other call, isn't it?
Tyndall's got the iPad out and he's showing him what he wants to do. But yeah, I think it will be for Gordon. He won't want to get him set off. Sorry, Barry, go on.
No, I was going to say it's a shame because it's been the livelier out of him and Miggy. It's a shame that he's having to take him up. But like you say, it's becoming that tetchy little side of the game, and you certainly don't want to lose somebody and end down to 10 men. Barnes has got it all to prove. For me, it must have been very close to whether Barnes started or not, or whether Miggy got the start. So go for it, son. You know what I mean? He could make the starting 11 for the next game if he does well today. Yeah,
waiting to see who he's going to bring on and what he's going to do here. The ball hasn't gone out to play. 54 and a half minutes played. Sounds like Mad Dog had some input into the halftime team talk. Says Sam, ball's out of play now. Joe Linton struggling a bit since that challenge on Phil Foden.
Bring Longstaff on now.
He's down on his knees. Phil Foden's got his arm around him, and Sean Longstaff is coming on. Sean Longstaff's got his strip on as well. Harvey Barnes is being introduced to the game for Gordon. So well called, Darren. You were right. And Barry.
I text Eddie that interval, Steve Ray. I text Eddie what I wanted to happen to me.
What did he say?
Gordon's
your soulmate.
He said you also find us.
Gordon's off, shaking hands with everybody. Doesn't look too despondent. Completely understands why he's going off. Harvey Barnes takes his place on the left-hand side. Just waiting to see how Joe Linton leaves the pitch. Not often that Joe Linton struggles, it has to be said. Byrne is just having a quick crack with Harvey Barnes. As Almiron talks to Joe Linton, who is walking off unaided, limping a little bit, not really holding any part of his leg or knee, but which would suggest that it could be his foot. Could be his foot there. I'm not sure. It's these boots that the bloody players wear. But Longstaff is coming on. Can I get ready quick enough, Sean Longstaff? Be itching at the bit to get involved in this game, I bet.
Come on.
And I'll give it another 10 minutes.
Yep.
I'll bring Wilson on. And I'll take Amron off.
Okay, well, that's Darren's call again. So, straight swaps. Physio's talking to Joe Linton. He's walking gingerly on his right foot, which is the foot that he put the challenge in with. Is he going straight down the tunnel? Tyndall pats him on the back. Where's he going? Straight down the tunnel. So clearly going to get some medical. I'd probably get some ice on his foot, see what the damage is. Let's hope it's not too serious. Man City on the attack. Foden's got the ball. Turns inside again. Plays the ball to Grealish. Man City looking to get a second goal here, but Newcastle stand resolute and managed to clear the ball. So those substitutions, Ian, they're the ones we wanted. Hopefully they're going to make a difference.
Yeah, hopefully. Not great to see Joe going off, potentially injured, but it is what it is. We've now got a squad that can carry an injury in the centre midfield, so you've got to look at the plus sides of it. But yeah, no, hopefully Barnes can do something because it's what he does. You know, he scores goals. He's direct. He's quick. So fingers crossed. I just wish I could see it. I'm fuming. My missus has just paid for BT for a monthly pass, and we can't get on the app. So I'm not seeing her for a week, and she's absolutely fuming with us.
Why wearing black socks, by the way? Any reason?
I'm not sure. Harvey Barnes getting in on the action now as well with a challenge, and he's been yellow carded.
Oh, how weird.
Unbelievable.
They're not wearing this top, are they? They're not going to be giving them the yellow cards to match the shirt.
Well, maybe. I don't know why we're wearing black socks. I really don't. It's a strange situation because the black and white strip comes with white socks, doesn't it? So I'm not sure. It's a good question. What are you expecting, Barry, with those substitutions?
Like you said, it's exactly what we wanted. I'm a bit puzzled by Darren's bringing Wilson on because where are you going to shove Isaac then? Are you going to
on the right?
All right, so you're going to play him instead of me.
Or I'll either put Harvey Bond on the right or Isaac on the left.
Right.
One of the two. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's
probably
Howe's decision, isn't it? I mean, that's the good thing with the 5 subs now that he will have a couple of chances at it. It's just whether or not. I mean, I'm praying like mad that Longstaff sort of plays the same as he did towards sort of parts of last season and he gets stuck in.
Great last-ditch challenge by Fabian Schär there. A great little through ball to Haaland, and it was again from that man, Phil Foden, who has been man of the match today. Haaland just had to put it past Nick Pope. He stormed in, and Schär just came with a last-ditch tackle, and the ball went off Haaland and out for a goal kick. But more signs there that Foden is the danger man, and he's trying to get down that side again, the left-hand side where Burn is, but Burn's just got the better of him again, won the ball. Wonderful challenge. Ball's fallen to Tonali. Tonali now through to Barnes. There's a long ball over the top now from, I think it was Longstaff to Almiron. Almiron's got runner on the outside, which is Trippier. He's laid the ball off, but it's under hit, and Newcastle have lost the ball again. And back in the hands of Grealish, back at the feet of Grealish, sorry. And Man City just put the foot on it and slow things down again. So 60 minutes played, an hour in, Man City 1, Newcastle 0. And a little bit early to say whether the substitutions have played their part yet. But as Tim says, the subs may well change the game. Derek says, we don't need to lose Big Joe. He's had an off game, but I hope we don't lose him. And the ref is a yellow card gunslinger. I guess it's the rules, Darren, isn't it? It's the new rules that they're using in these games.
Yeah, it's just like they're not messing about, are they?
No.
I like the way, like, if they think that somebody's wasting time, that they're going to boot them straight away. So I do think it's good for that personally, because the faster the game goes, the better it is for us.
Was Murphy on the bench, Dave?
Go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, was Murphy on the bench?
Dubravka, Lascelles, Wilson, Ritchie, Target, Barnes, Livramento, Anderson, and Longstaff. No Murphy today. I
would just like to see Murphy have a run at them as well with Gordon going off. I wonder why he's not there.
Go on, Ian.
No, I was just going to say, I haven't obviously seen this game, but from what I've seen, the new rules have been implemented to the detriment of what they're meant to actually do. You know, they're still not giving fouls that are blatant fouls, and then they're penalising people for complaining that they've not given fouls that are fouls. That's what I've seen up to now. You know, still the same shit officials. That's the problem. You know, you can't rely. We used to have the best officials in the world 20 years ago. Plus, there were some shit ones as well, by the way. But we used to have at least some decent officials, and now we're the dregs. So that's my opinion.
Possession 58% for Man City, 42% for Newcastle. Newcastle had a free kick there, but didn't do a great deal with it. And
we're due a chance, aren't we? We've got to have a shot at goal at least, don't we?
Yeah. I mean, he's actually not been in the game. He's just not been involved, unfortunately. That's the problem. Not managed to create anything for him at all. Too many defensive players maybe in the midfield today. Not enough. Getting at the Man City rear guard, and creativity we've been lacking today, I think, is the key. But hopefully Barnes can unlock a little bit of magic in some way, shape, or form. The ref is inconsistent. The referee's appalling, says Tim. Hasn't had the greatest of games, but again, the new rules being implemented, they're following the letter of the law, and that sometimes it's not pretty to watch in the opening gambit of the season until the referees get used to it and we see what's happening. Ball played through for Haaland. That should have been 2-0. Haaland again not having the look in front of goal. Again, a through ball from Foden, and the ball fell at the feet of Haaland. It was a wonderful ball by Foden, who is head and shoulders above everybody in that midfield today. and it fell to Foden, fell to Haaland on his left foot. He took the control, wasn't the easiest of touches. Tried to hit it again with his left, scuffed it with his studs, and it rolled past Nick Pope's upright. And Man City fans quite rightly holding their heads in their hands, because really, had Haaland been on his form today, he would have had at least 2 goals by now. Yeah. The truth says, do you think Man U will finish above Tottenham? Interesting. Watching today's game, we commented on it at the start of the programme. Manchester United probably will finish above Tottenham because they have that kind of luck. I can't see Spurs maintaining that level of performance throughout the season. I think Spurs will always be a bridesmaid, never the bride. I think Man United will get it right. I can never see Man United struggling, but you just never know. This league is unforgiving, and if you suffer a poor run in form, you just never know. Foden breaks through Newcastle's midfield again. Haaland again, right foot shot this time. Pope clears with his right foot, and the ball is out towards the byline. I'll stay with this. Tonali closing the Man City player down, and ball coming to Foden again, but Newcastle are equal to it. And Tonali, who's a cucumber, lays the ball back to Botman, who plays it out to Barnes, who is brought down, and it's a free kick to Newcastle inside their own half. What about you, Darren? Do you think Man U will finish above Tottenham?
Probably, but after the day's performance and Monday's performance, they were dreadful. Tottenham didn't look great. They didn't. If they're relying on Charleston, good luck to that the rest of the season. But I think Man U will get top 4 again, personally. So they'll come good, won't they? They usually do.
What about you, Ian? Man U above Tottenham?
They both look shite to me at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah, me too, mate.
Yeah.
Me too.
I wouldn't. I think Brighton look better than the pair of them. So, in all honesty, at the start, a couple of weeks ago, I was saying I think I'd be happy with 5th. I think we'll come 5th, but I think we've got enough to do to go toe to toe with anyone in the league, and this is our main rival now, City.
Isak's off, Wilson's on, Tonali's off, Elliot Anderson's on.
Has Tonali had a belt? From the sounds of it, what they were saying on the radio, what I've heard first half, he sounded like he had a really good game.
Tough.
He got booked early on. That's the only thing.
Yeah,
he's been kind of limited what he can do, any horse tackles.
Newcastle had a shot there. It was woefully wide and woefully weak from Bruno, but it was a shot nonetheless, but it was off target. This is going to be an interesting battle. Foden against Anderson. Two players who, have come through their respective academies. Foden, of course, has won everything that football has to offer. Anderson is hoping one day that he could do the same. But Anderson's certainly been spoken in the same kind of levels as for progressing like Foden. Be interesting to see how these two do in the game. Foden being by far man of the match today. There's no doubt about it, and that has been Newcastle's problem. 67 minutes nearly on the clock. Manchester City 1, Newcastle 0. There hasn't been many stoppages this half, so I can't imagine there being much injury time. The ball's through to Wilson. He was onside there, whips the ball into the box. That would have been great if Isak had been there, but of course he's just come off for Wilson. The ball fell to Barnes, who doesn't manage to get it. It's cleared by the Man City 11. Man U finishing above Tottenham, Barry?
It would be nice if they were 18th and 19th. I'm quite happy with that one. And, I think Man U have got more than Tottenham. I think Tottenham they're gonna really struggle this season. I think once it comes through, I think they're gonna lack the goals that Kane provides, and I can see them really struggling. But Man United, I think I agree with you, Steve. I think they'll come good at some stage. I think Ten Hag's got enough about him to hit a winning formula at some stage, and obviously get them up and running. how high they're going to go. I think we're ahead of the two of them, hopefully, with house management and the squad that we've now got. I mean, can I ask you guys, why is there a reason he's left Miggy on the pitch? Because Miggy doesn't seem to be having a particularly. I'm puzzled as to why. Totally agree with Darren. I would have taken Miggy off and shoving Isaac out toward the other side and getting him to run with the ball. Miggy doesn't seem to be doing anything, and yet he's left him on. Is there any reason, do you think? Or
he's not got a yellow card. Probably the reason. I think if Gordon had managed to avoid a yellow card, then maybe that tactical switch might have been something we would have seen. I don't think he sees Wilson. I don't think he sees Isaac on that side as an option. I thought he would have left Isaac on and played Wilson at the same time and gone for this game. The fact that he hasn't tells you that he's got confidence more in something coming from the players that he's brought on. It'll be interesting. To see. Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see why, but it's a good question. The Truth says, good luck to England's women tomorrow. Come on, the Lionesses. 9:30 it starts on ITV tomorrow. Darren, are you going to be watching it?
Yes, I'll be watching it. That's to say, hope they'll go and do it. And the men's team will have to learn how to know what it feels like to win something. But they've done good. They've done good the last night of the fair. Hope they can lift it.
Ian, what about you? It's it's going to be a big achievement if they do manage to lift it off the back, especially off the back of winning the Euros.
100%. I'll be watching it. Yeah, I watched the semi-final and bits. My son loves the women's football, and so we went up to the bar on the campsite and watched the semi. I thought, obviously, we're missing a few players, but I thought they played really, really well. They just grounded out, and I think. Fingers crossed. The last time we played Spain, I think they dumped them out of the Euros, if I remember rightly. And Spain are a bit in turmoil, from what I understand. They've got quite a few issues. So yeah, fingers crossed.
We've had a bit of action. We've had a shot on target from Harvey Barnes. Wilson played him through, and Barnes tested the keeper. But that was that. And we've now had another incident in the midfield where Bruno has collided with Foden. It looked a fairly innocuous collision. Certainly wasn't any malice in it. But judging by Bruno's reaction, I would imagine he's probably going to receive a yellow card here at some point. Foden rolling around on the ground, clutching his leg, and sure as eggs, it's a yellow card for Bruno. So this referee loves handing out yellows, it seems, only to Newcastle United players. Just a quick one, Ian, as well. Serena Wiegman, the manager of England Lionesses, I heard this mentioned this week. Would it be possible that she could go in and be the first female manager of a Premier League team?
I'd take her in a heartbeat over fucking Southgate.
What would you think? Would you think that she could manage in the Premier League? Do you think?
I don't know about the Premier League, but I'd take her in a heartbeat over Southgate.
Wow. Okay, Barry, what about you? Would you like to see? Obviously, the Lionesses win tomorrow. I would imagine yes, but Serena, could she do it in the men's game?
I agree with you. I think for the way she sets up her teams and the team ethic that she's got, a bit like Eddie Howe, it seems to be very much a strength as one whole thing. I would bring her in instead of Southgate. I'm not a huge fan of him at all.
Definitely.
Yes. Why not? I mean, as a coach, there's nothing stopping women being on a par with men. Yes, as a player, physically they may struggle at times, but as a coach, God, it's all up here. It's all their ability to manage the team, and she's doing an amazing job. Go, like you say, the Lionesses, fingers crossed, will do something the men have been struggling to do for however many years it is since we won something.
Yeah, Moses says, why not? She's brilliant. Southgate has done well, in my opinion, says the Truth. The goal in the semi-final, the Australia woman scored, was spectacular. It was a good goal. And Murphy, someone suggesting that his partner is close to giving birth. Les said Murphy not in the squad, partner giving birth, I'm told. So that would make...
He's not giving birth, though, is he?
No, not him. I don't think he'd want to miss the birth of his child, though. So, yeah, that's the reason that's understandable why he's not there today. Okay, Newcastle still 1-0 down to Manchester City. The changes have been made. Let's see whether they're going to implement, any change in the game.
Haven't we got any more changes to make?
No, but I'm saying whether these changes can implement a change on the game is what I'm saying, and I'd like to think that they could. I mean, Newcastle now going for a bit of possession again. Manchester City pushing them back into their own half. But Trippier playing this long ball up to Wilson again. Wilson running down the right hand side, but this time he's beaten to the ball, and Newcastle's opportunity there sniffed out. But 73 minutes on the clock, and yeah, time ticking out. Foden has been outstanding here. A couple of WhatsApp groups I'm in as well. People suggesting that, that Newcastle still have work to do if they're going to get to the Manchester City levels. And I've got to agree, Darren. It's quite obvious Newcastle aren't at Man City's level at this moment in time. And I don't think anybody really felt that we were, but we've still given them a good game. I'm not going to be too negative on Newcastle here. We've given them a good game. We are miles away from them, but we're not hundreds of miles away.
No, it's like I say, like, City are a great team, and in I would say 5 years' time we want to be like not like them, but on par with them. Hopefully, just give them to beat them. But we're done all right today. But I know another referee's being called happy phones around the show in midfield. I don't know if done. I don't know how we've done bad. We've just like the final third haven't created much of it really. No, City's a good team. We all know they are. But I say it's a marathon, not a sprint. To be what they are, so just be patient. That's my opinion. Yeah.
I mean, again, you're at a disadvantage, lads. Ian, I'll come to you first. But, you see enough of Newcastle. We've still got a way to go, haven't we? But we're on the right track.
Yeah, I think we're probably 3 starters away, maybe 4 starters away at the moment from matching City on the pitch and bettering them. And definitely a few more, to get the 22 players out, that they've got. Like Daz said, I think Daz said 5 years. 5 years would be absolutely amazing, because they've took a long time to do it without FFP restraints or constraints or whatever word you want to use for it. Initially at the start. So, yeah, I think for us to be sat where we are now, it sounds like we're playing okay. We're certainly not getting run off the park, are we? So, yeah, I think we're on track. We're doing okay. My head's not gonna go down if we lose 1-0. You never know when Wilson might stick one in off his backside or something. You don't know.
It's only 1-0, 15 minutes to go. So
bit of pressure here from Newcastle as well. A nice little spell, 2 minutes, 3 minutes there of Newcastle putting the ball into the box. Have still got it as well. Anderson's made a difference. Barnes has made a difference. The link up between Barnes, Trippier, Longstaff, and Anderson is certainly paying dividends in the final third. And Newcastle
too high for him, wasn't it?
Cutting to the back and crossing the ball in. So as you said, Darren, 1-0 down, 15 minutes to go, plus a little bit of stoppage time. Newcastle are still in this game. Barry, just talking about how far Newcastle United are away from Manchester City. I mean, it's not a huge gap.
No, I mean it was mentioned yesterday, wasn't it, about the 2 fullbacks that were signed as well, saying that there's a lot of commentators said that investing in Livramento and Hall, we could potentially have signed the 2 England fullbacks for the next however many years. If those 2 continue to progress at the rate that they've done so far, we could have the England left and right fullback. It's that dreaded word, isn't it? It's the financial fair play. I listened intently to the Friday show, Steve, when you were talking about how if the fines and everything, this whole thing about people getting punished for ignoring the financial fair play rules, if that then gets scrapped because it's not working, the UEFA one's struggling, the FA, the Premier League financial fair play seems to be handing out ridiculously low amounts of punishment to the teams. God, if they exactly what you guys said, if they lift the financial fair play rules with the finances that we've got and the ambition that the Saudi owners have got, God help the rest of them. I think, if anything, that's probably one thing that will keep the financial fair play going, because they know potentially we would just be there. You know, there would be any quality players in the world. We could break our pay structure with no concerns whatsoever with the finances we've got and pretty much sign anybody. And that's got to be scary, because even Man City can't match that sort of financial fair play.
Sorry.
No, go on.
Adidas coming in, of course, as a partner will certainly give us money to spend in January again. So, you know, players that we need to bring in, you know, they will bring in players in January. So I think the financial fair play will be helped by that, Barry. There's no doubt about it, you know.
I would just love to see it disappear, because then it would put us on an even playing field with these other teams. Even though financial fair play is in place for them as well, they've got so much money coming in that they've built up over the last 10, 20 years when we've been struggling with Ashley, that they've got those finances that we haven't got. And it's going to take a while with FFP in place to actually get to that stage. I just think if they scrap that, we can go forward so quickly. And our owners definitely want that to happen. They're prepared to do that. As Keegan once said, I would love it if they scrapped FFP and see where we end up.
Financial fair play is an arse. There's no doubt about it from my perspective. Match stats, for those of you interested: 59% possession for Man City, 41% possession for Newcastle at this moment in time in the second half. Tells you where we're at. 12-6 on shots, Man City and Newcastle. So Newcastle have upped the ante in the second half. 407 passes for Newcastle as opposed to 563 for Man City. Clear-cut chances are at a minimum for both teams, though it has to be said. Yellow cards, Newcastle 5-1 up on yellow cards. Fouls won, well, it's 10-9 to Man City. But Newcastle certainly trying their best to get themselves back into this game, and there has been a wonderful second half compared to the first half for me. I think Newcastle have certainly upped it a little bit, up the work rate. Eddie Howe looking on alongside Pep Guardiola, who looks a bit more frustrated despite winning 1-0. And 10 minutes to go plus stoppages. We will see. The truth says I disagree with that, as Ashley ran it as a business to make money. Yeah, if you've got trillions like Saudi, it will spoil the game, but they can't spend their money. Just clever commercial deals will help Newcastle massively. As long as financial fair play is there, Newcastle will have to be cute. But I mean, anyone who watched the Amazon program, the second one, not the third and the fourth one, which we were talking about earlier on, and it gives you an indication of the financial fair play. Just to commercial revenue for season 21-22. I'll read it out. I've got it on my phone here. Manchester City, £619.1 million. Liverpool, £594.3 million. Manchester United, £583.2 million. Chelsea, £481.3 million. Spurs, £442.8 million. Arsenal, £367.1 million. Newcastle, £176.2. So Newcastle are almost £400 million less in commercial income than Manchester City. That's where we're at. That is where we're at with this. That is where we're at with commercial activity. And Newcastle will eventually be able to overcome that with the sponsorship deals. Just laughing there as Pep Guardiola offers a fan to come and sit where he is to see whether he can do any better. I think it was more of a joke.
Is this their new manager?
I think it was more of a joke than anything else. It wasn't an angry Pep Guardiola. It was a joke, that. But Newcastle still pressing, still pushing. 82 and a half minutes played. That man Phil Foden again, though, carrying the ball out of the defence and taking it up to the halfway line Kieran Trippier winning a free kick for Newcastle on the halfway line, winning a throw-in, on the halfway line. But it's still there. Newcastle could still get this. What was the outgoings on that? It didn't say on the Amazon documentary. It didn't say what the outgoings were. We know in the transfer windows since the new owners, the owners came in, Newcastle have spent 425. But I don't have the outgoings, the truth on that. But it's just what it was. If you want to know what the agents were, you'll be able to find them at Company's House, the truth. But I don't have them to hand at the moment. Okay. 7 minutes plus stoppages to play. Newcastle still 1-0 down. Darren, can we do it? Can we get something out of this game?
I'm going to say yes. We're going to get one clear shot in the next 10 minutes or so, Steve. Some positivity.
What do you think, Ian? Are we going to get something out of this?
I hope so. I don't know. Not watching it is probably more nerve-wracking than being able to see it, to be honest.
If we're going to point in, I'll buy you 2 pints. It'll be 2 pints.
3.
I've witnessed that, Ian.
Not these phantom pints. Barry, what's your feeling just from hearing us today? Do you think this is the one that's going to get away?
I think it is. I think Foden's been the difference. And we're still learning, we're still getting better. I mean, they are at the top of their game. Yeah, they're missing a couple of really quality players, but I don't think we've done ourselves any harm at all. From what you guys have said, we haven't been that far behind them. Getting 1-0 defeat against the champions at their ground, I'd have been more than happy with that. I think,
and they're not just the champions; they're the best team in the world at the moment.
Exactly.
And we want them. Let's not be crying about it. You know, we've given them a game from the sounds of it. You know, if they've got more quality on the pitch, they've had 20 years to get that.
Yeah,
you know?
that is the key. That is the key. That is what we got to come away from this game with. I don't think it deserves to be any more, than 1-0. Purely because of the effort Newcastle have put in. There's no doubt about it. This could have been a 4 or 5-1 because Haaland's had 3 chances which he should have put away. But ultimately, Newcastle are still in the game. Livramento is coming on to make a Newcastle United debut. 5 minutes, and it's Miggy Almiron coming off.
I was going to say I'll take Almiron off and stick him up there.
And Livramento coming on, so that would suggest that Livramento is going to be on in a forward role today. Is it like for like?
I
wish he'd brought him off earlier.
He's done nothing, Mickey.
By the way, Livramento is another big lad, as Jack Charlton would say. He's another tall guy in this team. Newcastle, certainly got some big height in this team, and I'm just double checking. Was that Livramento's first touch? Tino, push on. I've just read Eddie Howe's lips there. Tino, push on. So he's clearly wanting Livramento to make an impact going forward here. Miggy, having a swig of his juice.
Just hasn't been his day. Bless him.
Newcastle pushing forward again. Ball back at the goalkeeper's feet. Plays it out again. Newcastle win the ball. No free kick here. Trying to get the ball wide to Livramento, who'd made a run, but doesn't quite fall for him.
Come on, that's all right.
Man City picking the ball back up again. Just trying to slow the play down frustratingly, Man City, as you would imagine. Livramento pushes on and they play the ball back to the goalkeeper. Callum Wilson pointing towards Harvey Barnes, telling him to close his man down. Livramento on his bike.
Be a cracking game for him if he can put one past City.
He's got to get the ball first. Man City just doing what they do best. They're just trying to slow the game down, frustrating Newcastle, playing the ball back to the goalkeeper, playing it across the back line. Midfielders coming short for the ball, playing it and then stopping, starting, playing the ball back wide again, looking for that gap. looking for the man of the moment again as well, Phil Foden, who's making a run down that right-hand side, who's got the ball. Botman, one-on-one now with Foden, closes him down, and the ball's out for a throw-in.
It's just final ball, isn't it, in the final day?
Yeah, I mean, Foden has just been outstanding today.
He's been outstanding. Just that final third of the day.
You can't pay Foden a bigger compliment. They haven't missed De Bruyne.
No.
Yeah,
They have not missed De Bruyne. He has been superb. And to be fair as well, Kyle Walker has had a decent game down that side, ably supporting him. He looks like he's blown out of his backside, but he's actually had a really good game today, Kyle Walker. Foden, no, for me, head and shoulders above everybody else. 88 minutes on the clock.
We've got our own Foden coming soon, though, haven't we?
We've got a Foden coming through. Yeah, we've got a few. We've got a few young'uns coming through. And like we've said before, this is no disgrace. If Newcastle do end up losing this game by 1 goal or 2 goals, then they've given it to Man City. They've given them a go. And they've changed the team, they've changed the personnel, they've tried to change it in a positive light. Haaland puts Foden through. Foden cuts across the box, but painfully wide for Foden. Nick Pope stuck a foot out but didn't have to connect, and that ball just trickles out for a goal kick to Newcastle as we hit the 89th minute. Haaland returning the favour though with a ball across to Foden. Foden ran in behind. Did Pope get a little nick there or a little touch? It looks like we're setting up for a corner here, are we? Yes, it must have just clipped. Must have just clipped Nick Pope's foot. Has it gone for a throw in or a corner? Jack Grealish has got it on the spot. It's going to be a corner. As we hit the 89.5 minute mark, Grealish takes a short corner. Is he? No, he mimics to take one to Foden, but doesn't. He's going to go long, I think. Defenders have all got their man. Foden pointing. Grealish pointing. Corner taken. Hits the edge of the box. Falls to Alvarez, who hooks the ball in, which is easily taken by Nick Pope. And he rolls the ball out to Harvey Barnes on the left-hand side. Barnes tries to play the ball up to Wilson, who made a run. And the Man City rearguard, led by Kyle Walker, lifts the ball back to the goalkeeper. And we're into the extra time period. Foden trying to get the crowd going as he is announced as the player of the match. No surprise there. Certainly our player of the match on here as well. And we're just waiting for the clock to catch up on the TV to tell us how much injury time we've got. Very slow this on TNT Sports Ultimate Live, as they call it. 5 minutes. 5 minutes injury time as the cameras pan onto the Man City fans singing. Newcastle have got 5 minutes to try and get back into this game. Ball's back with Man City again, though. It's Kyle Walker running down that overlap on the right-hand side. Phil Foden, as you'd imagine, in the box again with Haaland. Walker plays the ball back. Man City just happy to play the ball around. Not really going for the jugular here. Alexander Mitrovic off to Al Hilal for 50 million.
Aye.
What do you make of that, Darren?
He's just went for the money, is he? Like he's went for money. Goodbye.
Clearly didn't want to play for Fulham, Ian.
No,
definitely not. You can't blame him. The money they're talking, he's never going to get paid that anywhere, And he's been a good Premier League player, but never excelled. So the reality is that money sets up his family for generations, doesn't it? So,
yeah,
he'll go there, he'll make his money, and that's probably the end of his football career, but probably the start of him being absolutely minted for a long time.
Yeah, wasn't my favourite player at Newcastle. I've got to be perfectly honest. I think people only liked him because he had a decent song, and it was a period of time when Newcastle were struggling under Ashley. He seemed to be like a player as well that the youngsters seem to really take to. But
and he kicked people like that.
Yeah, and to be honest, though, he kicked them in the wrong place at the wrong time. And stupid red cards, and I think that's what really used to frustrate me about him. But at Fulham, they seemed to get him under wraps and did very well with him down there. So good luck to him, and good night, The Truth. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for your the points that you brought up tonight. 92 minutes, 92 and a half minutes on the clock, so 2.5 minutes left. Man City have got a free kick. Play it wide to Grealish.
Frustrating though, because the Saudis could quite happily have Jeff Hendricks, Isaac Hayden, and Ryan Fraser for a fraction of that price. We're quite.
Guardiola's got a free throw in. Sorry, takes it to Jack Grealish, who's in the corner. Haaland's in the corner. Tells you what Man City's all about here. He's just standing, pushing Newcastle's Trippier off the ball, and just wins a throw in. Foden still trying to motivate his players. Tell everybody that come on, keep it going. You've only got a couple of minutes left. Let's do this. Grealish and Haaland are in the corner now. It's a corner to Man City. Clearly going to play a short one here. Haaland probably knows he's got no chance of getting a goal tonight, so he's decided to head down that way and get involved in the corner taking. It's time wasting at the highest order, and they are just they are playing the game out. Man City, Newcastle need to find a way up that line in the next minute and a half to try and get something out of the game. They've got it. They've won the ball. Nick Pope's got the ball. Goal kick to Newcastle.
Will someone suggest Man City dark arts?
Well, this possibly could be what they're doing. Okay, here we go. Botman got the ball. Plays it wide to Livramento. Control lets him down. Grealish nips in. And the ball is out for a throw-in to Man City. Pep Guardiola getting quite animated, guiding his team, telling them what he wants to do. Camera focuses on Wilson as we enter the final 30 seconds of the game. Most animated I've seen Pep Guardiola today. As the ball is hopelessly lumped forward to Wilson. He didn't have a cat and else chance with that. It's cleared by the Man City goalkeeper. It's a throw into Newcastle. Last chance, 20 seconds to go. Throw in taken. Ball falls to Bruno. Plays it out wide to Anderson. Anderson plays it back into our own half to Botman. Long, hopeful ball forward is all we can hope for. He's played it to Barnes. Barnes has the ball back. Whistle goes. Manchester City 1, Newcastle United 0. No disgrace in that. It is a defeat. But unfortunately for Newcastle, their good start of the season against Villa, 5-1. Been brought back down to earth a little bit by the Man City result today, 1-0. But no disgrace. And Newcastle will take a lot of heart from that performance. Got to hope that the injury to Joe Linton is not too serious. That's the only downside, I think, from the game. We're seeing Eddie Howe and the guys and the coaching staff walking onto the pitch. Look a bit dejected. Eddie Howe shaking his head there. But the one big thing was that Phil Foden was head and shoulders above everybody else. So there we have it. 1-0, Darren. Thoughts on that, mate?
I think we've done ourselves proud. We haven't been hammered. We've given some sort of game. Like I say, Foden's ran the show in midfield, and Man City are a world-class team. So the levels above us on the book was, like I say, it'll take at least 4 to 5 years to get anywhere near them and challenge them from the Premiership. But I'm not too disheartened that we're lost. It's not the end of the world. I just hope people don't go crack us and criticise us on Twitter and that, but they probably will.
Okay, Ian, you were disadvantaged. You didn't see the game, but thoughts on a 1-0 defeat at Man City?
You're not going to be happy getting beaten ever, you know. So let's be honest. Like, you can't say, "Oh, I'm over the moon with getting beaten," but we're playing the best team in the world. You know, done the treble last year, or I don't know whether you could claim the quadruple with the other win the other night, whether that drops into this season. But they are quality. They're missing De Bruyne. They've got Foden. They've got 22 players who could arguably get into any team in the Premier League. And I'd like to see Man United go to City and only get beaten 1-0. Having not seen it, But Man United wouldn't do that. I very much doubt Arsenal would do that. I think it sounds from what you lads have said and from what the radio commentary said that we did okay, and we kept going. Eddie's not going to be happy because he's a winner, But let's be honest, like you said before, you look at what we've spent, we're doing ourselves proud.
Okay, Barry.
Yeah, I think it's not good because you've lost. I would have been over the moon if we'd managed to equalise and taken a point from it. But the performance, the lads have done well. Howe's still learning about the changes he can make with the new players that he's got in the squad. So we've learned stuff again today that obviously we've competed against, as we keep saying, the best team in the league by an absolute country mile, and we haven't done anything wrong, really. They were better than us, but they're going to be like that to nearly every team they play this season. They're going to walk over most teams, and it just we haven't really had any great chances. I would have hated it if, like you said, Steve Haaland had put in his couple of chances, because I think that would have made it look a damn sight worse than it actually was. No, you roll on to the Scousers. I think if we play the same against them, it could be a totally different ball game.
We'll batter them.
We're
going to batter them, like.
They're not in the same league as City.
No.
Okay, guys. Great stuff. Been a fantastic show tonight. Thanks to Darren. Thanks to Ian for joining us halfway through. Enjoy the beer. You've deserved that, Ian, after that drive home. And thanks to Barry for jumping on. Difficult to watch, to comment on game when you can't watch it, but a fantastic night. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Some great comments as well. Just want to give you man of the matches for Newcastle. Obviously, you two guys can't, so me and Darren can. I'm going to say tonight, I felt Newcastle United's man of the match. Despite the fact we lost 1-0, I'm going to give it to Fabian Schär, because I think he had a tough start to the game. He went down clattered. We thought his shoulder was put out, but after that, he was superb. It was close. I think it was between him and Botman, but I'm going to give it to Fabian Schär. Darren, what about you?
Probably agree with you, Steve, to be fair, because we won the head out when doing dodging, and he's bounced back. But he had a good game. Fabian Schär and Botman, but Fabian Schär because he could have won injured to start the game.
Okay, great stuff. We will see you guys on Monday night, 7 o'clock for the fans forum. So look forward to seeing you all there. I'm back tomorrow night, though, 6 o'clock with Stu and with Mitch on The Professionals. Take care, guys.
Bye, boys. Bye.